Hello and welcome back to Git Radio episode number 18. We're back and we've got Tales of War. In the time since our last episode, there has been our own team event. There's been Siege of Strivelyn, which happened a couple of weeks ago, and we've also been down in Mids. So this episode's all going to be about Paul and mine's experiences at those tournaments and basically all the shenanigans that went on. And as always, I am joined by the abbot to my Costello. It's Paul.
What's going on, guys? Where was good? Looking forward to listening to some tales of shit dice rolls and jammy luck.
It's all bullshit, Paul. It's all bullshit.
I can't complain. I had some good dice rolls at Siege. It was actually, after day one, I was like, that was actually alright. I did actually have different dice. I don't know if you noticed.
I didn't notice. Did you buy new dice just for Siege?
I bought new dice. I bought the heavier, bigger dice.
Okay. The loaded dice.
I already had some, so I was just using those, and it just was like, oh, look, I'm rolling averagely. This is amazing.
This is a new experience.
Yeah. Makes such a difference.
This is going to be an old school episode, just the two of us. The format's going to be pretty straightforward. We thought, because we wanted to cover both tournaments, we thought we would just mash them together, because Paul played in one and I played in the other. So it means that we can cover all the same ground in the one episode without kind of repeating format 2 weeks in a row. And it also means that hopefully if we manage to get another episode out before Christmas, we can do a new exciting topic, which we'll maybe mention that towards the end. So yeah, we'll probably just kick off. So we had Siege of Strivelyn, which was our team event, which was meant to be our team event.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a team event.
So Paul, what raised our blood pressures before the event itself?
Yeah, so like basically anything that could go wrong did go wrong. So I think we were 6 teams scheduled to play. 8 teams.
8 teams, yeah.
8 teams scheduled to play. So within 24 hours, we had 1 team pull out due to sick children, and then we had 2 other players pull out due to sick selves. So we were down 5 players, so we had to hastily rejig the format into a singles event, and unfortunately for Andrew, he had to kind of step down and not play, so that kind of took us to an 18-man event singles, but the main thing for the event is the kind of unique scenarios, and fortunately that totally operates in either format, so we didn't really have to change very much. And one upside was we actually had like way more trophies and prizes to give away.
Oh, the prizes.
We had kind of planned for a team event, so that was good. It
was, yeah, and like, so the team that pulled out was the Iron guys, Warriors of Westeros, and that was just because of sick children, so you can't really blame them for the kids getting sick.
No, I know. It's a shame because like we have events like maybe only 2 or 3 times a year, so
yeah.
That's really the only time we get to see the Iron guys. So it was just a shame we never got to hang out with them for a couple of days. Yeah,
and then the pullouts. So Simon wasn't feeling well, and Michael came down with a really nasty lung infection. So both of which you can't really begrudge them for not particularly wanting to play if they were falling apart.
War gamers aren't known for being particularly hardy souls. There's a lot of neckbeards and cardigans in our group. I mean, they're not the most robust.
Oh, fuck. There is a contagion of cardigans in our gaming group, actually, that we maybe need to address at some point.
I'm wearing a cardigan right now. I'm not ashamed to say it.
Okay. There goes a listener.
It's winter, man. It's cold.
It is winter. Okay, you get away with that one. So, the event itself. So, obviously, we had to change the singles, but actually, before we go any further, it's probably worth saying just a massive thank you to everyone that did play, because nobody moaned, no one grudged, everyone got on board and just went and played in the exact way that Siege is always meant to be played, and that's just smash-faced and have a laugh.
Yeah, it was a really good turnout. Apart from the kind of suspiciously high number of VC lists, can't really complain.
Don't know what you're talking about.
We did have quite a lot of people come from down south, which was really good. And like we've said, it's one of the reasons we look forward to the events. Is it's another opportunity just to hang out. You only really get to see once or twice a year. So everyone went out for dinner, had some drinks, had a good laugh in the evening. So can't complain.
No, it was really good. And a massive thank you to the likes of Stephen Dornan, Gary Quirk, Alex Thomas that came up from the Manchester area, and then we had the Durham guys come up as well, and then Barry and Shane came up from Newcastle, so it's massively appreciated that the boys came up and made the effort to attend the event, and everyone seems to have enjoyed themselves. So all that is really left to talk about is the games themselves.
Yeah.
So instead of giving kind of a broad generalisation of all the games and things like that. What we thought was Paul played with his warriors, so Paul can just run us through each of his 5 games, and then we'll talk about my games at mids, all my 5 games, and then at the end we'll kind of talk about overall thoughts about our lists, about the game, and probably most importantly where we think our respective books are at this moment in time, with Paul playing Warriors and me playing VC. That will be very much a tale of 2 very, very different books, I think.
Yeah, very much so.
So why don't we just kick off? So, Paul, how about you remind our viewers about what your list was for Siege?
A good idea, because I can remind myself. So, I think I said to you before the event that the list that I took, because obviously we both were involved in writing the scenarios, it was very much tailored to try and compete in all 5 rounds.
Yeah.
I hadn't really built it in terms, for all that it was originally a team tournament, I hadn't actually built it with particular matchups in mind. I figured that I would just write a fairly balanced list and just try and contest and either pick up points where I can, or if there was a good matchup, just push for points and try and get a big win if I can get the secondary as well. So characters, I just had a Sorcerer General, Master with Evocation, on a Black Steed, Plate Armor, Alchemist's Alloy, and the Lucky Charm. So 5 spells, 1 up armor save, pretty cheap, 460 points, that's it.
Yeah.
Which basically leaves me like everything else, 4,000 points to spend on stuff that I actually want. So for core, I had 2 units of 8 Barb Horsemen, full command, light lances, shields, and the banner discipline on both units. Obviously the general can bounce in between either of those. The banner just basically prevents them from running away. Most of the list doesn't care about panic tests, so it just kind of keeps them safe.
Yeah.
And a couple of units of hounds for chaff. And then in special, 10 chosen, wrath, great weapons, musician, standard bearer. That's basically the hammer in the list. Then 2 units of 4 chosen knights with lust, banner, musician, and halberds. So that was actually the first time I think I'd played with lust, but I really liked it. So what lust does, it gives the unit strider, and it allows the unit to flee if you want, and then it gives you the feigned flight rule as well, so you're moving after rallying, and they rally on 3 dice as opposed to 2.
Oh, is that because of the armor? I didn't realise that.
No, it's part of the rule for lust. So the idea is that it's to kind of promote that MSU style of old that we've kind of lost, but it's really nice on the Chosen Knights, and given the scenarios, the Strider's really, really good.
Yeah.
2 Warrior Chariots, and then 6 Wretched Ones.
Okay.
So the Wretched Ones are basically the anvil on the list. The Chariots, they're 220 points each. I think they're one of the best things in the book.
Because why not?
Because they're cheap, but they're res 5, 4 wounds, 3 up armor, decent impact hits. You're getting 4 strength 5 attacks from the crew. They're cheap enough that you can throw them into things just to kind of chip away, but if you can combo charge them into something and they can actually do pretty good damage. They're just really versatile, and they're movement 8, so they're actually a bit faster than you think they are.
Yep.
So that's the list. Pretty straightforward.
Cool. So how are you feeling going into this?
Well, as we've kind of said, we had a lot of dropouts, so I wasn't anticipating on playing, and then within the last kind of day or two, there were rumbles that maybe a couple of people might not make it, so we had agreed that I would play this year, since I didn't play last year.
Yep.
So, despite checking all the lists, and formatting all the lists and shit, I hadn't really been thinking about matchups or strategies for games, so I've kind of figured I'm just going to do what I did last time. It's Strife, which was a similar kind of situation. I hadn't really planned on playing, but I thought I'll just play aggressively. I'll try and play to the army strengths. I'll contest the scenarios where I can, and then even if I'm not winning on points, I'm not losing secondaries. Mm-hmm. So it should help to kind of offset any losses that way, or if I'm winning slightly on points and the 3-point swing takes me to like a 14-6 or 15-5 or something like that, and then over the course of 5 games, that starts to add up. So, felt okay, I suppose. I mean, part of that was ignorance. Like I said, I didn't really know the ins and outs of a lot of different lists. There were a few armies that I hadn't played before that were going to be there, which was good, but from a matchup perspective, I don't know how I would have fared if I had ended up playing them, but I was looking forward to it. I was hoping to play people that I hadn't played before, and thankfully I got a couple of games in against new people, or people I've only played maybe once before, so I was pretty happy with the pairings from that perspective.
Cool.
But going into game 1, We obviously knew the night before that I was going to be playing against Tim.
Tim B.
So actually that seemed like, on paper at least, a pretty good matchup.
Yeah. So game one was Storm the Bridges. So the idea of this scenario is that the board is literally cut in two by a river. The river is DTs for basically everything. So standard infantry and beasts take DT2. Large infantry, cavalry, large beasts, and constructs take DT1. And then gigantic units can move through freely. So the idea was that you've got these two bridges. They're the objective, essentially. So whoever holds the most bridges at the end wins the scenario. We wanted to try and force people to take either really funky off the wall lists or quick balanced lists. So we always predict that we're going to see a lot of Strider banners essentially in this one, or stuff that can get across the water other than the bridges. Or on the flip side, there's normally quite a lot of armies that just bring, really solid combat units that just rush onto the bridge and just challenge anything to try and fight them harder. So, yeah, like on paper, you playing Tim's Beast Herds in this scenario seems pretty perfect. So how did the game unfold?
So, just to kind of give people a bit of context, his list, he basically had, his general was an adept on druidism, he had another master in shamanism, beast chieftain BSB, he had another beast chieftain with ambush, and then in core he had a couple of big blocks of mongrel herds, a smaller block of mongrel herd, and then some mongrel raiders, and then in special he had a razor tusk chariot, and then 3 units of razor tusk herd, 3 briar beasts, and 3 cyclops. So Tim likes his chaff. He likes a lot of stuff on the table. He's very good at movement. So, as I've said, on paper, in combat, I wasn't really worried. I figured a lot of his units should match up pretty well against my own. The only thing I was worried about was the amount of chaff in the individual units that he had, and his ability to ambush. Like I say, Tim's very good at movement, so I figured that if I'm going to get fucked, that's where he's going to get me. Luckily, like the way the bridges work is that you can really only be attacked in the front or in the rear from either side. So you've got to imagine that the bridges have like these invisible walls that don't block line of sight for things like magic and shooting, but you can't actually charge or attack units in the flank on the bridge. So I figured that, well, in a straight up fight, I should be fine. He's not really got anything that killy. So I dropped first turn, basically put the Chosen Knights, because they had Lust and so they had Strider, in the centre between the 2 bridges. So the idea was they were just going to go across the water and not give a shit. Or the Foot Chosen block was going to go on one bridge on my left, and the Wretched ones were going to go on the other bridge on my right. The Barb Cav were just going to hang about in the back, and they were going to contest the bridges if I was going to push off the bridge, or they were just going to hang back and I was just going to keep those points and he wasn't going to get them. Mm-hmm. And it would keep the wizard safe. And the wizard was just to buff things on the bridge for combat with the evocation spells.
Yeah.
Chariots just stayed on the flank just because he's got more units than me. If he wants to come across, then I need some way of keeping him in the river or basically giving him a deterrent to stop anything wanting to come over, because realistically he's going to have to come into the river for a turn, take DTs and then come out the river with the small units, so it gives me a lot of time. So the first couple of turns actually went pretty well. I think Tim was a little bit confused as to what the Wretched ones did. I don't know if he was more preoccupied with their ability to random move as opposed to how they fight in combat, but what he basically did was the majority of his units were in one corner. I don't think he really favoured the matchup particularly well himself, so he basically kept everything in one place, and then in the middle of the table he had 2 Cyclops with some Briar Beasts and one of his chariots, just to get some shots in, so they were positioned on a hill in the centre, which gave him pretty good line of sight. He did commit one of the mongrel herd blocks to one bridge, so I was like, that suits me, I'm just going to pop the Wretched ones in, and I think they did something like 28 wounds in the first round of combat, which was to Tim's surprise. I think I rolled like 3 6s, and then whatever else I needed to get to I think I did like 27 hits, and I had the reroll to wound spell up on them, which wasn't good for Tim.
Melt the unit.
So yeah, they did really well. I mean, I think he killed like half the unit back. Because he had some spells and he had like the banner on them to give them like the extra attack, and he had the crown on the general, giving them the hatred and stuff. So
he had +1 toughness, +1 strength banner, didn't he? That he popped.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to work out how he killed so many.
Yeah, he did a fair number of wounds back. I mean, they've got a 5-up save, the Wretched Ones, so they do have some level of protection.
Yeah.
But it's not amazing. So I think basically what happened there was it was just mutual destruction, and I think over the course of a couple of turns of combat, he actually killed the unit and had like 4 guys left. I was kind of surprised. I thought after the first round, I should kill the rest, or at least win in combat, and hopefully they'll break because they shouldn't be steadfast anymore.
Yeah.
But I obviously didn't get the same number of grinds second round, and then they just went. So he ended up getting the 4 guys that were left ended up charging off the bridge, and they got a charge off into the rear of a barb cav unit that had turned round to deal with a totemic summon.
Okay.
In the end, it didn't matter because they bounced. The guys just whacked them back. Again, Tim didn't realise the horses are strength 4, which he wasn't happy about either. So they were like wounding him on 3s. So they bounced. It didn't really do anything to the unit, but it just gave him that turn to free up the bridge, and he started moving across like other units.
Yep.
And in my mind, that on that side of the bridge, I basically had the Wretched Ones, a barb cav unit, and 1 chariot. So once the Wretched Ones went, that flank was basically lost.
Okay.
So, meanwhile, in the centre, the Chosen Knights had moved up into the river, and then they charged out turn 2, and he had basically positioned 2 pieces of chaff in front of them. I think they were Briar Beasts, or Razor Tusk Herd, one of the 2. They blitzed through them. One got an overrun into one of the Cyclopses that he had positioned on the hill in the centre, and the other one had gone for a similar overrun but didn't make it into the second Cyclops. So on his turn, it gave him the countercharge with the second Cyclops into the flank of the Chosen, and then his Razor Tusk Chariot and another Razor Tusk Herd into the other flank, which wasn't great. Fortunately, he didn't really do very many wounds. I think he killed 1 knight, but that was after I had swung.
Right.
Because I was going at agility 6. So over a couple of turns, they actually held, but they ended up eventually breaking, I think, and got chased down. I was a little bit disappointed. I thought they should have killed 1 Cyclops, because the Cyclopses are only res 5, right?
Yeah.
So they're strength 6, res 5.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah, so that was kind of why I was thinking, well, even if 3 guys are in combat, that's 9 attacks plus 6 from the mounts, all at strength 5. They've got, I think he was just making enough Aegis saves to keep them alive.
Yeah, because they've still got 5 up. Yeah, 5 up Aegis.
Yeah, so he ended up getting those points, and the second Chosen Knight, because they failed the overrun, they didn't have the time to get into combat, so I effectively just had to keep that unit alive, because I'd lost 1 flank. The Chosen were on the other bridge, and I didn't really want to commit them, which, in hindsight, what I should have done would just push them up, even after him killing that Chosen Knight unit, because they had held the first round of combat. I would have had a charge on my next turn, but I was, at that point, thinking, well, he's going to get the other bridge. If I come off the bridge and I lose that unit, that's game.
Yeah.
So I figured I'll keep the points of the unit, because they're like 800 odd points, and I'll keep the bridge. And then it's damage control. So that's basically what happened. Unfortunately, when he had killed the Chosen Knights, I think he reformed, which on his subsequent turn gave him a charge across the river into the flank of the Barb Cav unit that had my general in it. So that was again a huge point blank.
Fuck, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't good. So what started off as a really promising game ended up being like a 16-4 to Tim.
With the objective.
Without the objective. So he held the bridge and I had the other bridge, because he basically moved the Monk-Herd unit onto the other bridge. So in the end, like, I don't really know how I lost the game. It was just, like, in hindsight, I'm saying, like, oh, I should have moved that unit and I should have did this, but I don't know.
Hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah, I think realistically, 2 units of Chosen Knights in the centre should have basically won the centre, because everything else he was keeping out of the way, so they had no support. And the Wretched Ones, even if I had 1 Wretched One alive, I can just block that bridge. I can just send his random movement in at the side, and he can bounce off and he can live there. And it's an unbreakable roadblock, so he's got to kill it, which again gives me time to move stuff over there if I want.
Yeah.
He had some bad dice rolls in the early game. Saying that, he did Swarm of Insect off both chariots.
That's
one cast, one chariot went, and then next round the second cast.
That
second chariot
seems
went.
unlikely.
It seems unlikely, but I mean, it's Swarm of Insects. I mean, that's what that spell does. It's fucking bananas. Like,
yeah.
If you force someone to make enough armor saves, especially me, I will fail them. They've got a 3-up armor, so he's still looking for 6s.
They've got a 3-up armor?
They've got a 3-up armor, yeah.
And you've...
Yeah.
What?
Well, it's like, what is it, 5d6 hits?
Yeah.
And then you're looking for 6s to wound.
Yeah, and then you just failed 3-ups.
I just failed 3-ups.
Holy
I think he had
shit.
done 1 wound to 1 chariot, so it was maybe on 3 wounds, but the other one was like 4 wounds and just evaporated.
That's pretty bananas.
Yeah, that was a bit bullshit. But it was a good game. Like, I was making him sweat. I was enjoying that part of it. There was a lot of arms being thrown in the air and, like...
Yeah, there was.
You know, a lot of sarcastic, oh, of course they're strength 4. Oh, why wouldn't they be strength 4? A lot of that going on. Which, I mean, that won me the game. Just on principle, I was like, that's fine. I'm happy.
See, this is the best thing about being a TO and not playing. You get to, like, watch people while they play.
Yeah.
So, like, I came over I was kind of keeping an eye on your game, and then I think it was like the end of your turn 3, and the Chosen had just go over the bridge, and you had the 2 units of Chosen basically just going to munch through all these units, which you'd kind of position in this corner, which meant that they couldn't really get out. But I went over, and I said to Ed, Paul's just about to 20, Tim, brace yourself. And then I kind of walked around looking at the other games, and then I came back, and somehow Tim was winning the game, and I wasn't really sure what was happening. So I think this is just another example of Tim winning games that I don't understand how he did it.
Fundamentally, when you look at his bricks, so he's got like 2 bricks of 45 guys, right?
Yeah.
Look at what they cost. They're like 400 points.
Oh yeah, they're like, I don't even understand how that 1 brick took out the wretched ones.
I think they had spells up. That's the only thing I can think of, because they're strength 3, right?
Yeah,
base.
but like, you can't fight the horde because he was on the bridge.
Banner, so he's wounded on 5s.
Yeah, but even when he's on the bridge, so he's fighting in 3 ranks, so if he's got a champion, that's 16 attacks. So hitting on 4, no, it'll be hitting on 3s, right? Because you're dog shit weapon skill.
Yeah, we're hitting on 3s for sure.
Yeah, so hitting on 3s rerolling, so say most of them hit.
Yeah.
So say, I don't know, he maybe does like 10 wounds, something like that. So
yeah.
you save a third, so 2...
I mean, that's at that point you're talking about 2 to 3 models, depending on how well he rolls.
Yeah.
With the spell, I think I want to say he had some sort of, I mean, he had Shamanism and Druidism. I think he had like +1 strength up from Shamanism. So
okay.
They would have been wounded on 4s.
How did he not break when you did the 28 wounds?
He was still steadfast.
So they're, what, leadership 6 mongrels?
Well, his general and BSB were in range.
Oh, were they? Okay, right.
Yeah. Because he had basically edged forward enough, I think, to maintain that. So, but this is it. So it's like, I mean, the wretched ones are amazing against the right thing, but they're 600. Yeah. They're over 600 points.
Yeah.
That's more than. So I played Danny in the last game, and he had a unit of like 24 Dread Judges. They're cheaper.
Are they really? Jeez. Oh,
yeah.
Right.
But I mean, it's just a case of the matchup, right? I mean, that amount of wins is insane against like feral orcs that cost the world.
Yeah.
But Mongrel Herd are cheap enough, they're disposable enough that. So I think that's effectively why I lost the game on points, was just that the things I was killing just weren't enough points. As soon as you kill a unit of Chosen Knights, well, that's over 600 points. I've just lost the wretched ones, that's another 600 points.
Yeah.
The units individually are very good, but they're just that expensive that you can't really afford to lose any of them.
Yeah, you get punished doubly for every mistake you make, essentially.
Yeah. Losing my general is huge. The problem with putting the sorcerer in that unit is they can't flee, because the sorcerer is fearless. The unit isn't.
Right, okay.
So ideally, that would be one of the bonuses of putting them in that unit, right? Is normally if he's hanging out with warriors are fearless. You know this. They can't flee. They're stuck.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people don't put their sorcerer in a warrior block. But he's fearless unto himself, so it doesn't really matter where he is. It's still a problem. So I realized that after he declared the charge, I was like, shit, he can't actually flee.
Is that definitely the case? Is it not one of these ones where it's more than half of the unit have to be fearless?
In my mind, it wouldn't make sense. That's my interpretation of the rule.
Okay.
But also, to me, it wouldn't make sense that if one guy's fearless and doesn't run away, if he's part of the unit, then the whole unit can't run away. Kind of similar to why like a unit gets like shared leadership and stuff. Like it's got to be one rule for all almost. I could be wrong, in which case I would have fled. I know I've not lost my general.
Okay, I'm going to look that up while you're talking about your...
You look that up. Yeah, cool.
Just to rub that salt in the wound, you know.
Yeah, okay. No, that's good to know, though.
That came up a few times, the fearless thing. I think the wording's not particularly good, because it came up in other games where I had to go over and make a TO decision.
Oh, really? I don't feel as bad, though, if I fucked that rule up, if other people have fucked that up.
Yeah, I think because people think that... Because it used to be immune to psychology, so everyone kind of knew that immune to psychology was you're immune to everything. Whereas now it's fearless, people think, well, is that just you're immune to fear? Or, you know, mainly because people haven't actually read the fucking rules is the big problem. Which is ironic, which we'll get to a story that I'll tell later on, which is ironic that I just said that they don't read the rules.
Okay.
Fearless. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
Fearless. If more than half of the unit's models are fearless, the unit automatically passes panic checks and cannot declare a flee reaction unless already fleeing.
Does that first part of that sentence apply to the flee part? Or just the panic test part?
Both.
So they can flee?
Yeah.
Right, okay. So I would have fled. That sucks, obviously, but at the same time, I would have opted to flee if I had thought that was the rule.
Yeah.
So the reason they didn't flee was not because I didn't think about it. So that's fine.
The more you know.
So, the more you know. This is like what happened at the end of Strife, when I learned that you can't magical move a random mover. See, this is the whole good thing about the podcast. You learn the game.
Every day is a school day.
So, ended up being a 16-4.
16-4 to Tim. Okay.
To Tim, yeah. Which was disappointing, just with how good the first couple of turns went. On the upside, last time I played Tim, I got 19-1'd.
Improvement then.
I've went up 3 points, which is pretty good.
Strong
and it was good. I do like playing Tim. He's a good player, and he always takes the time to kind of chat to you about things in the game and after the game and stuff. So, and I don't get to play him very regularly, so it was a bonus.
Yeah, we're a big fan of Timbo. So that was your game one then. So, what was your kind of final takeaways from that? Was there anything that, obviously the flee now, but was there anything that you thought, oh, I really shouldn't have done that, or anything like your deployment that you think that you would have done differently?
I think in hindsight, throughout the tournament, I would say that I don't think I used the barb cab units very well.
Okay.
I'd only played one game with them previously, so I don't have a lot of experience using them as a unit. They're kind of a weird unit in the sense that they're not light cav, so they're movement 8, which is very good, but they don't have light troops. They've got good armor save, but they're res 3.
Yeah.
So using them, you can't really use them the same way you would use a lot of the other units. And I don't think I probably used them very well generally. But really, in that game, beyond that, I'm not really sure what I would have done differently, other than being a bit more aggressive with the Chosen while they were on the bridge. But again, that would have been a risk. And if I had gone, it would have been potentially like a 19 or 20-0 to Tim. But beyond that, I think it was a pretty good game. It was very swingy, but enjoyed it.
One thing that Tim mentioned to me after it was that he was surprised you didn't put the Chosen Knights on the bridge.
He said something like this to me at the end of the game, and then he mentioned something about using them as like a roadblock and then flanking.
Yeah, see, I'm not
wondering how you do that on the bridge, because you can't do that after on the bridge.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I agree with him, having thought about it. Because basically what he was saying was, you basically load the bridge with all your killy stuff.
Yeah.
And then you force him to decide, does he want to lose the game 13-7? Or does he want to try and push and get something out of it, but risk losing bigger? Which, especially because it changed to singles, I think that's a fine team mentality. But in singles, you've really got to maximise points all the time. So I don't know. He's probably right, because Tim's normally right.
Yeah. I mean, the Chosen's about as killy as I've got, and they were on one bridge. And the Wretched ones should go through his blocks. And I think part of my mentality going into the game was what I did, I was going to do that regardless of who I played against. Because that's how I had tailored the list.
Right, so you can have like a pre-format tactic.
So, yeah, I kind of felt, well, the Chosen can go through the water, and I'm not taking penalties. The Wretched ones could probably make it over the water if I roll averagely. But as I will discuss later in another game, they don't always roll averagely. And they could have just gotten stuck there, and they would have been taking DTs. Okay, they're large infantry, they're not taking as many, but I can control their movement on the bridge if I want, just by putting them sideways, and they can just bounce off. I don't know. There might have been other ways I could have played it. I don't think there was anything wrong with how I did play it, which makes me think that I didn't really do anything wrong per se. I don't know if another way would have been more effective, but at that point it's just dice and what he rolls.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I was pretty happy with actually how I played the first game, because I didn't really think there was anything major tactically that I did wrong. Apart from maybe I probably could have moved the barb cav units around a little bit better, but again, that was a general problem.
Okay then. So 16-4 that ended to Tim.
Yeah.
Going into game 2. So game 2 is the night raid scenario, where both players have a camp marker. The camp has a stat line, which is meant to represent camp guard protecting it. And basically the whole idea of this one is that you've got to try and get to your opponent's camp and destroy it while defending your own. So who were you playing game 2?
So game 2, I got to play against Matt and his Infernal Dwarves.
Nice.
I hadn't played against Matt. Matt's been up to a few events, so it was really good to get to play him. Spent a bit of time rolling some dice, chatting some shit.
Sweet. And Matt has a very nice army as well.
He does. It's a pleasure to look at, which is another bonus. So it was good. So we were playing the camp. I'd only played Infernal Dwarves once before, so it was a little bit hard to read his list. I knew that some stuff did, but as soon as someone brings a guy riding about on a monstrous mount, I'm like, he's got to be Kelly, right? And those big Torok guys, they look pretty beefy. They look like they can, cause some damage. He had the Infernal Engine, War Slug.
That thing's a motherfucker.
Yeah, very cool model. Very nasty rules. He had 2 units of 10 flintlock guys, a couple of blocks of hobgoblins. He had 3 pieces of artillery, and he had a block of immortals with a BSB in it. So the guy on the bull that was flying around, I think that was his wizard, his alchemy dude.
Yeah.
So I had said to you actually before the game started, I don't know if you remember, I was like, what the fuck did I do against this list? Just because I didn't really know what it did. Yeah. You said just push at him, it's not very killy, so I did that.
Was that good advice?
Yeah. I can't really remember much about specifics.
Okay.
Although the main thing was I did really enjoy the game, and I think I actually voted Matt for the Sportsman Award.
Okay, cool.
Because I did really, really enjoy the game. Matt's list was actually pretty defensive, and he seemed pretty content just to kind of maintain his gun line.
Okay.
So as I was moving forward on the flanks, he was just kind of moving back, maintaining the line, repositioning, just so he could shoot and do some magic damage. He had the Infernal Engine in the center.
Yeah.
And I think I went for turn 1, and that was the one thing that gave me pause, because I was like, that hits the metaphorical train. I'm pretty sure that's where the Infernal Engine is from. It's fucking rough.
Yeah.
And I was like, that thing can just blitz through shit, and it's tough. And in my mind, if I put the Chosen into it, if I got a flank on it, they could probably deal with it. But I had deployed the Chosen on my far left, and they were just pushing up to go after the camp. Because I really wanted to make sure I killed his camp, because I wasn't sure about his list. I wasn't sure how I was going to do. So I was like, well, as long as I get the camp, and he doesn't get mine, and he's a dwarf, he's pretty fucking slow, I feel a bit better about the game for winning the secondary. So I basically just stayed away from the Infernal Engine in the middle and just kind of tried to maintain a front so that as I was committing on the flanks, he could either... Because he had some of his squishy stuff on the flanks, so I figured he's either going to have to commit and save a flank, or he's going to have to come forward. And when his flanks collapse, I can just envelop him if I want to come in for points. I was very fortunate that 2 of his war machines, at different points of the game, did blow up. One of them, hilariously so, actually did some damage to his own shit. Because they're the ones that actually do that kind of explosion. And then you roll the dice for the range, and then you're actually damaging your own stuff.
Well, that's spicy.
So that was pretty nice.
Yeah.
He was doing some damage with his shooting. I think throughout the game, the Chosen on the left, they effectively got to the camp, killed it. I think he had shot at them with the Titan mortar that causes the DTs.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he had flintlock guys shooting into them and alchemy and whatnot. I think I killed the camp with 5 guys, and then they reformed, and then by the time they charged the last remaining war machine, there was like 2 guys left.
Okay.
But they killed the war machine.
Yeah, they did.
So that was good. So that was pretty good. So I got the war machines in the center. Beyond that, I got a lot of the small stuff. There weren't really any huge combats in the game. It felt really tactical. Like, movement was a really big deal.
Okay.
And once he told me that the way the random movement works on the engine is that it can't charge anything that's not on its front.
Yeah.
That was just like, okay, that changes the game. So there was just like barb cav units like moving around them and just being like, haha, I can't get me out of the way. So that helped a lot, actually, knowing that rule. I made one huge colossal fuck up in the game, which cost me points.
Okay.
So the Immortal block I didn't really want to fight because a lot of my Kelly stuff was elsewhere, and I figured I just didn't want to pin that in the middle and leave it alone.
Yeah.
So I'd stuck a unit of dogs chaffing it for what seemed like 3 or 4 turns.
Okay.
And then at that point in the game, I had to start moving other things around it. So I moved, there was a Chosen Knight unit kind of babysitting the dogs a little bit. In case he did want to commit, had something that could at least sort of put up a fight. And the Wizard Bunker was near this Chosen Knight unit. So the Chosen Knight unit, I can't remember what happened, but they had to fuck off and get out of dodge somewhere. So I also had to move the Barb Cav unit, because the Wizard was in there.
Right.
So cast some spells, so you're getting moved. And then in my mind, and I remember thinking, all I have to do is rotate that dog unit 3 inches.
Oh, Paul, you didn't.
I'm sending that unit in a different direction.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
And I didn't do it. And I remember it was like, right, it went into Matt's turn and I'm standing there and I'm looking at it and I'm going, I didn't move that dog unit. That's really good. So he basically charged the dogs.
Yeah.
Overran into like the fucking flank of the Wizard Bunker. I was like,
oh,
for fuck's sake.
no. Oh, no.
So that was a big moment in the game. What was really funny was, not for Matt, for me, I think he killed all of them bar one Barb guy. So I think it was the champ that was left.
Yeah.
And no, it wasn't the champ. So it was one regular Joe guy, probably the banner, and the wizard.
Okay.
So they fled. He didn't catch me. I rallied, and then on my turn 6, the wizard turned round and fucking sniped the BSB.
Nice.
Which was amazing. I physically punched the air at the end when that happened. I was like, yeah, points!
Wow.
So that was pretty glorious. And then elsewhere, like, as I say, there weren't really any kind of major combat, so like, the snail never really got into combat. I should say that his engine's a snail model, for people that haven't actually seen it. It doesn't have a snail on the table. I didn't really get into combat with that. The Torok, I had kind of set up on his flank. I was trying to set up a counter charge, but as things panned out, they actually got by the Chosen unit. So they never ever saw combat, basically. So the only kind of meaningful combat was this kind of hilarious overrun that the dwarves got into the flank of the Wizard Bunker with the wizard turning round and casting the shit the BSB.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was pretty good. So it ended up actually being a 10-10. Pretty bloody game. But as I say, we still had stuff left. And I got his camp, he didn't get mine, so I ended up winning 13-7.
Nice.
So it was good. It was a really good game. I mean, he had a bit of bad luck with misfires and...
That seems to be Matt's bag, though. Like, whenever there's a miscast or a misfire on offer, he's just like, I'll buy that shit.
I think if you bring a gun line to a tournament, you're going to have a shit round, right?
Yeah,
I can
attest to that.
You're going to get that round where nothing works.
Yeah.
I mean, his small arms fire was doing okay. Like I say, he got the Chosen down to like 4 wins. But it was a relief seeing his war machines kill themselves. I was like, that's amazing.
Yeah,
They've done more wins to themselves than I've done to them in this game. So it was a good game. So got a small win, so that was nice.
Okay, cool. So that was 13-7 to you. Yep. So you're only down 3 points going into the third game then.
Only 3 points going into the third game.
That's very doable.
It's about to get much worse though, as I'm going to play a VC list. I think they were like VC were the most. They were the most brought army, right?
Yeah, I think there was 4 VC lists.
Was that including yours? I know you didn't play, but
no, I think it was 5, including mine.
Yeah. So originally, if there had been everyone playing, it would have been 5. So there were what? They were all different, I have to say. But
although technically, I did play this round.
Oh, that's very true. Do you want to talk about your round really quick?
Yeah, I'll just very quick. So, Henrik wasn't feeling very well in the second round. So he was playing the lovely Gary Quirk.
Tactical Chunder.
Tactical Chunder, yeah. He was so scared of a dwarf off that he faked illness. So Gary was very nice about it, and they shook on a 10-10. So I said to Gary, do you want just the game? Because I've got my shit. I will just run at you, and you can take me off or I'll take you off. And he was like, let's do it. He was using Inferno Dwarves, as he always does, and it was a really fun game. It was a bit mental, because basically I played very fast and loose, and just threw my undead wall at him. The highlights included his blunderbuss unit, okay? Right, so everyone says blunderbusses are shit. They're not shit.
I remember this. Having this conversation several times a day.
I couldn't get over this, right? Because I was so convinced they were shit that I didn't show them any respect whatsoever.
Yeah.
So the one of my horrors was like both my horrors got in behind them, which is normally very good for me when that happens. But his blunderbuss unit quick reformed, shot one horror off in a turn. The horror was on full wounds, so I was like, right, okay, cool.
Fun times.
That wasn't nice. Next turn, he reformed them, shot off my wraith unit, which was also on full wounds. So I was like, yeah, cool.
Great.
So that's like 800 points dead.
Yep.
Loving life right now. So the game ended 10-10 because I lost like 1,000 points in the last turn.
Jeez, that was last turn as well.
So sorry, last two turns. So because I felt like I had the game comfortably under wraps.
I thought that was early game that happened.
No, that was like late game.
Okay.
Because he had a unit of backstabbers come on as well. So I had the Varkalak like lurking about in the back just to protect my camp. Because the Varkalak's got regen, he's got shitloads of pyro, so I didn't see much point in throwing him forward. So the backstabbers come on, I just put the Varkalak in front of them because I think he can charge me and the Varkalak will just eat them. And he poisoned the Varkalak to death in one round of combat.
Did you know they had poison?
Yeah, but I didn't really, I was thinking,
you didn't think they were going to land that many hits?
Yeah, I mean, it was, how many sixes can this boy roll? And then I get a 4-up regen.
Yeah.
And he just fucked me.
And then you got Vampiric as well, right?
Yeah, but I only get Vampiric at the end. Crucially, I only get Vampiric if I'm alive, which I was very not.
No. Yeah, but I'm thinking, even if he does a couple of wins, you should potentially...
Oh, yeah, for sure. Shit. What we actually did was we did it wrong the first time, so we did the combat, and we thought the Varkalak was alive on one wound. But then we played the next turn, and then I actually said to him, wait, let's do the combat res again. Because we didn't include the charge.
Okay.
So I actually popped the Varkalak. So I took the Varkalak off, but it then meant that the backstabbers could get into my camp. So it went from, I felt very comfortable, like I was going to win the game, to, it was a 10-10. But it was a really, really fun game. It was bananas.
I was a little bit sad I never got to play Gary. At one point I was looking at the scores and I thought, I might actually end up playing Gary. That'd be good. I've never played him before.
Yeah, it was good fun.
Wasn't meant to be.
Gary,
he seems like a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a connoisseur of the smack talk as well. He kept telling me how he was going to shoot me off.
Amazing.
Yeah, which was, I didn't believe him until he shot me off.
I don't really get that kind of vibe from Gary.
Well, yeah.
That would be the case, but that's really funny.
Yeah. So it was good fun.
Cool. That's a bonus.
Yeah, it was nice.
Game.
Yeah, nice wee bonus game. And that's the reason why there's no photos from round 2 on Twitter. It's because I was too busy getting my unit shot off by Gary.
Looking up fucking blunderbuss rules.
I was like, what the fuck is this strength 5 bullshit?
That was your Tim's Wretched Ones equivalent moment.
Oh, I know. I think I was telling everyone that would listen to me at dinner how bullshit the blunderbusses were. So game 3. So game 3 was Secure the Maiden.
It was.
So the idea of this one is, this is basically the scenario that the 9th Age guys stole off us and made Spoils of War, which is basically just a shit version of this one.
It is. It's a really shit. This is way better.
Yeah. So it's basically Spoils of War, but the spoils run about. And
yeah, they do.
They get in the way and they chaff you, and it's essentially just chaos.
Yeah, there's loads of really funny rules. You have to charge them a scoring unit, but when you make contact, you can't then reform or move. So you potentially contest the secondary at the expense of losing the unit that has just won you the secondary.
Yeah, we basically tried to make it the biggest ball ache of a scenario possible.
Yeah, it's really good. It's fun. We should suggest people go onto the forum and just download the rules pack just so you can see the rules, because
that's
they're worth the game.
Yeah, you can get all this on the forum. You can go on and grab them if you want to try them out. Even if it's just you want to try something different, because we all know that after you play the same scenarios over and over again, you sometimes get bored of them. But
oh yeah, march and column 3 times in a row.
Oh, march and column is the worst fucking deployment ever. Anyway,
we digress.
So yeah, so this is Secure the Main. So who were you playing this round?
So this time I was playing Tony's VC.
Okay.
And again, hadn't played Tony before, so I was like,
very
awesome,
cool.
New opponent, this would be good. So Tony had a kind of nasty... Tony's list was interesting. He had the dude on the zombie dragon, a shrieking horror, 2 units of 10 wraiths. He had all the zombies in the world.
Yeah.
Like 4 or 5 units of 20 zombies.
Yeah.
Big ghoul block, dark coach, and an assortment of vampires with different magics. It was cool. So basically deployed all the zombies and the ghoul block on my left. So this is diagonal deployment. So I normally really like diagonal deployment because combats, but against VC, not so great. Good for him because he's slow as fuck, so it helps him get up.
Yep.
And then he put all of his scary stuff on my right. So you had the zombie dragon, the shrieking horror, the 2 units of wraiths. I think he had 1 zombie block with them on that side.
Yeah.
So turn 1, peasants didn't go very far. I think 2 peasants were in easy reach of my units. And I've only ever played your VC list, which is somewhat similar in that it has wraiths, it has shrieking horror, so I know how all these things work.
Yeah.
So I knew it was going to be a bit of a shit matchup. I didn't have the magical heirloom on the wizard, which meant that when I took the hereditary for the range damage for the magical attacks, it only left me with 3 spells, and I can't remember what I ended up choosing, but I kind of felt that across the tournament. Like, in hindsight, for all that I really like evocation, I say this every time, when I don't have alchemy, I miss it, because I'm like, I can't do any fucking range damage, and against a list like that, where you have to fight it, it's not great.
I don't know, would alchemy have really helped you there, though? Because then you're wounding on 6s with all the alchemy spells.
But it's just for things like, even the Gloria Gold, okay, that unit now has magical attacks.
Yeah, that makes a
up.
big difference, yeah.
So things like that, and inevitably I'm going to be in combat, and then I'm not being able to cast my missile spell. So I've got no access to magical attacks at that point. So magic didn't really help me very much in the game. So basically turn 1, because the peasants were in easy reach, I basically charged the peasants. So I got 2 peasants turn 1. And the way the secondary works is one of the peasants is actually supposed to be masquerading as the maiden, which kind of features in the story that we have for the tournament, and at the end of the game you roll a d3, you have your pre-labeled or pre-numbered peasants, and that determines which one is the maiden. So if you captured the maiden, that is in effect worth 2 of regular peasants.
Yeah.
So the idea being is you have to go for all of them if you want to guarantee that you win the secondary, which I really like. I think we had just talked about it previously about doing it differently so that you could potentially win with 1 peasant, but that's kind of shit. And the whole point is that you have to run after these randomly moving little 20 mil models, which is really funny to see. So I basically picked up 2 turn 1, and I moved into a position where I could charge him turn 2, and I figured I can't really get away from him. His killy stuff is fast enough that it can hunt me down and scream me off or rape me off, and I can't do any damage to him from range. So I had an opportunity turn 2 to multi-charge one of the units of wraiths, and I thought if that goes well, and even if I don't wipe him out and he crumbles enough, I can overrun into the stuff that he had behind, which was things like the second unit of wraiths or the shrieking horror or his general. And then I thought, well, if I'm pinning him in one place, that means I can swamp him, and then that sounds good.
Yeah.
So basically, I got the block of chosen in the flank of one of the wraiths, and a chariot in the front. I thought, right, if this doesn't fucking kill this unit, I've got really nothing else that will. Rolled my impact hits, rolls a 6. Great. So that's 7 impact hits, strength 5, winning on 2s. I've got 4 strength 5 attacks from the crew. I've got a couple of horses, strength 4, and then I've got 6 chosen in the flank. So that's 18 strength 6 attacks.
I'm getting ready for the fall.
I did 2 fucking wins.
Fuck's sake.
Now, VC players are going to tell me to fuck off.
I'll get ready.
I fully expect this, but a 3-up fucking save on a rank and file unit is fucking mental.
It is mental. I agree.
It's really fucking good. And how many points is that unit, Andrew?
355
That
to
is
10.
a fucking steal, and he's got 2 of them.
Yeah.
So it was a really risky move, and I think you were passing by the table at the time, and I was like, Andrew, I'm going to try something. It's going to go really well. It's going to go horribly.
Yeah.
And you were like, don't do it.
Yeah.
But I did it.
Yeah. Because I just it's the 3-up save, like you say, it's so swingy, and if you don't, this is why I have a love-hate relationship with the race, because they're so matchup dependent. If your opponent doesn't have magical attacks, they've got the potential to win you games. If your opponent has any, especially ranged magical attacks, so stuff like Pyro, they just get minced.
Yeah. Or 3 Cyclopses.
Or 3 Cyclopses. So I do think
it wasn't good.
Yeah. That's why when you asked me, like, I'm going to do it, I kind of like, don't do it, because
It was funny though, because I was like, I need an 8 on the Chosen. They could fail this charge. It wasn't like, oh, I'm definitely getting in.
Yeah, which was the other reason why I was trying to tell you not to do it.
But it was the fact they got in. And I was like, oh, they got in, amazing. And the chariot got in. And I got a 6 on impact hits. I was like, everything that I need to go well has gone well. And then it was just like, no, 3 ups. You're fucked. I was like, oh, shit. So they died horribly because they got like charged by something else. At that point, the Chosen Knight unit on that flank had another peasant. I was like, right, fuck, I'm going to have to try and get out of dodge. This is really bad now. I'm going to try and save points. But because he had the general and the zombie dragon, working that in tandem with the Shrieking Horror, they were just super mobile. He was never not going to be within the range to march with the Shrieking Horror, he was just constantly flying around me, getting into a flank, screaming me off. So that whole flank basically turned to shit pretty quickly. On the other flank, he had all these zombies. I was like, this is amazing. The wretched ones are just going to like chew through this no problem.
Yeah.
Like, because they're going to do shitloads of wounds, and then they're just going to crumble, and then they're just going to overrun into the next unit, and it's just going to be rinse repeat. This is going to be great. And it kind of worked to a point. Like, I think they hit one unit, and I think the unit they hit had like 30 wounds. I think he had raised them by this point. And I think they did like 18 wounds, and then the rest just crumbled, and they overran into the next unit. And then, but at that point, he was getting combo charges into them and stuff. He put the ghouls in. I think in hindsight, I just should have just thrown them into the ghouls because there was more points there. And I think that's a decent matchup.
Yeah, ghouls can't deal with armor. That's their big weakness.
Well, I don't have. Well, he didn't have flaming attacks, so I was always going to get my 5-up save.
Sorry, you're talking about the
rich ones.
Okay.
So they ended up. I think they did a fair number of wounds to the ghouls, but it wasn't enough. They did I don't know how. I didn't count it up, but they must have done like 50, 60 wounds on that side of the table, but against VC, doesn't matter.
Get on up, boys.
It was just regrowing them. So I think at that point in the game, it was like, oh, this is just game over, turn 3. Like, I'm going to lose the Chosen Knights because I can't get away from these flying dickheads. The Chosen are fucked. The wretched ones are gone. I had basically lost like 2,000 points. General's not going to get away from anything now because they can just get reaped or screamed. So I think we played it out. We finished the rest of the game, but I think we got to like turn 4, and I was like, there's not even any point in like playing conservatively because I've bled too many points and he's going to get the secondary now because the zombie blocks can just pick up the peasants.
Yeah, okay.
So I was just doing things like, all right, the Chosen Knight unit that's left is going to charge that thing. Didn't matter, wasn't doing enough to crumble anything, and they ended up just getting combo charged and killed. So it was just a really bad matchup. But I knew that going in. I don't really know what I would have done differently because if I try and stay away from him, it doesn't really stop him doing from what he needs to do to win.
Yeah.
Leadership 8 across the army just isn't good enough as in terms of protection from the horrors. And really, the list relies on having high armor. And if you're reaping at AP 10, then, nothing you can really do. So
yeah, I do think that, like, for VC, warriors are normally always a green matchup because everything that warriors have as a strength, VC can counter. Particularly if you go along the anti-armor route, which I tend I have been using. And Tony's list was very much, lots of wraiths, the horror, and then the character in the zombie dragon was Lamia with the minus leadership debuff because she had the Reaper's Harvest, which wounds you on your leadership and things. So
yeah, he was getting good magic phases and stuff as well, just with the ability to generate tokens. And he had that many. I think he was channel 3 or channel 4 or something like that in the list, just with the amount of stuff going on. So
okay.
It's I really like his list, but I really like to look at it from far away and not actually play it.
That's probably fair.
Yeah, but Tony's a really nice guy. It was a good game. I did enjoy it. He seems pretty chill to play, which was nice. So for our final game for day one, it was quite good. It was, for all that it was a bit of a shit show, it was a pretty relaxed game.
Okay, so was that 20 then?
Yeah, that was a hard 20.
Hard on 20.
Yeah.
Okay, so 23 points to climb. Day 2 is...
yeah, that's probably not going to happen.
That's a bigger obstacle.
Yeah. No, but it was good. I mean, it was a pretty mixed day. I mean, like, the first game, I was happy with how I played, but it just didn't go my way, which was fine. Second game I won, so I can't really complain. And the third game was just a horrendous matchup, so I was okay. I was fairly optimistic going into day 2.
Okay. So day 2 started with game 4, which is Fog of War. So this is one of our new scenarios for this year.
This was really fun.
Yeah, I think it went down well. However,
people really liked it.
Yeah. So the idea of this one is blind deployment, essentially. So we had this idea that we would partition the tables, which would make, literally, you could not see your opponent's side of the table. And the secondary objective would be table quarters, so nice and easy. So we thought it's a perfect starting game for day 2 because you don't really need to worry about it too much, and it's a nice simple objective. Making those screens was an absolute ball ache. I had to get 72 foot of cardboard and make these screens.
Did you get all that from that guy that lives down the street?
So my friend Paul bought a house actually just down the street from me, and between that and I think his mum had garden furniture that she ordered. Nice. So basically, he just gave me all this cardboard. I think we might need to have a look at that for next year. There must be an easier way to do that.
Yeah,
but
we talked about, like, afterwards, like, using material like a cloth or something and just buying a roll and just buy something that's like stupidly cheap but you can't see through.
Yeah, I think that. And
just building a very rudimentary something to hold it at either end because the tables are all like stuck together, so it's kind of ideal. You'd only need like 2 or 3 rolls of it.
Yeah. So anyway, that was my cardboard moaning. But the important thing was, I think everyone enjoyed this one.
No, it was really good. I don't know if you noticed, but Steve, who runs the venue, had posted something about it on the Facebook page.
Okay.
I think he really appreciated it. I think he thought it was really fun.
Okay, that's cool.
So yeah, I was playing Jaunty's Ogres.
Jaunty!
So this was good. So I work with Jaunty, and he's recently gone back into the hobby. So I remember the first time I played him, and very quickly I realised, like, oh, he knows what he's doing. I'm not playing some.
This isn't what I signed up for.
What's this shit? What's this fucking shit? So blind deployment. Basically, what I decided to do was deploy wide, and just he has a fairly fast list. I mean, he had a unit of Tuskers, had the Rocker Orc, had a Giant, big block of Ogre Bruisers. He had 4 Merc Vets with pistols and poison shots, accurate, and he had a block of Tribesmen with characters in, a couple of cats for chaff, and a cannon. And that was the list. No magic. So I had deployed wide, thinking, I'm going to contest the secondary here and just move around him, blah, blah, blah. And then we flipped the screen and he's just deployed everything in one fucking corner. And I'm like, well, that corner of the table is going to get fucked.
Yeah.
Just the world of fatness descending upon them. So basically, I think I went first. Because he had kind of left the cannon out in one flank, I figured, right, I'm just going to send up the Chosen, they'll get the cannons, that's some points. I'm going to push up on my left, where he hasn't deployed, and I'm going to swing around, and I'm going to basically claim that whole half of the table. And on my right flank, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold back, I'm going to force him to come to me, and then I'm going to chaff him, and then I'm going to run away.
Yeah.
I'm going to get out of there, because on that side I had a unit of Barb Cav, 2 chariots, and 1 block of chosen knights, and that wasn't going to be enough
No.
to get through his army. So I was thinking, I'll just chaff him and stay away from him, deprive him the points, and I'll take points where I can get, and then I'll go for a small win. So that's basically what I did. It all seemed to go fairly well. He stuck out one of his saber cats, and it was maybe like 5 inches away from a rocker orc that he had.
Okay.
And I'm looking at it with the chariot. Now, he had just shot the second chariot down to like 1 wound with the poison shooting. So I'm thinking, well, these chariots aren't long for this world. So I've got to use them. Now, he stuck a cat out. I'm fully expecting him to flee with this. But even if he does, it's not a horrendous charge onto the rocker rock. It's still doable. It's not that long, because I'm movement 8. So I figured, fuck it. Right. I'll charge the cat. So he holds, and I'm like, okay, wasn't expecting that, but that makes my life way easier.
Yeah.
So killed the cat, overran it to the rocker orc, which is good, because I'm thinking, right now it's his turn, he's got to fight that. Now, he's losing all of his impact hits, and basically the way I hit the rocker orc was, the stuff on his right side that could countercharge was in my front. Because he was wider than me, he couldn't actually make contact.
Alright, so did you position the chariot, like, right in the front? Right in the middle of the bases? Yeah, okay. Right.
So the Merc Vex, he had said, oh, can I charge? I was like, well, you can see me, but you can't actually make contact because you're blocking yourself.
Yeah, okay.
So originally when I made contact, I put it on the corner, and then I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to move it over. And then I'm going to just have it with basically the rocker rock against the chariot. And I don't know if he was thinking about this, I put the reroll to hit and reroll to wound spell on the chariot when I charged the cat, so that I would have it for the rocker rock combat. And I think...
See, Paul, you pretend not to know what you're doing, but that's some sick play right there.
And I think he actually just thought, why is he doing that? Like, that cat's dead. Like, impact should probably...
Oh, I'm so proud of you right now. That's a sick play.
So, that's what happened. And I know I'm not getting the rerolls for the impacts, but I'm thinking, doesn't matter. I need every fucking thing I can get hands on.
Yeah.
That's a tough beastie. So
yes, he is. I
go in, first round of combat, I think I do 2 or 3 wins. And I'm like, well, that went fucking amazingly. And I actually won combat. I think he maybe did a wound back.
Okay.
If that. He had everything within like general and BSB range. Everything was pretty tight. So it wasn't going to go anywhere, but it just meant that, well, his rocker rock is pinned now. So if he commits with everything else, he's leaving that behind. And because I've got things swinging around that flank, if that combat goes on for 2 or 3 turns, that's some tasty overruns.
Yeah.
So I think, Jaunty's, for all that he's relatively new, he's a good player. He sees things still. Like, he can appreciate that kind of thing. So he basically decided to push and get some points, because I'd already had his cannon at this point and some chaff. So he was like, right, I've got to get some points. So he started moving forward down that side of the table. I just continually moved back. And then eventually it got to the point where I had to commit the dogs to chaff. I had already reformed the Chosen Knights, and they had started moving away from him. So at that point, he was never going to catch them, realistically. And I kept the Barb Cav in that far right-hand corner. So the only thing that he could have charged him with was the Giant. But I think I actually fully expected him just to declare the charge, for the terror test alone, but he didn't. And he just moved the Giant round. And basically what was happening was we were forming 2 battle lines facing each other down the middle of the table.
Yeah.
And it was going to be very cagey, because it was going to be like, who's going to commit? Because if someone commits and it pays off, they're going to win big. And if they fuck up, it's going to be horrendous and the other person's going to win. So it was about halfway through the game at this point. The chariot ended up killing the rocker orc, amazingly. But I think he had it down to like 1 wound. So I made the choice just to throw it into the Merc Vets. He was going to kill him in combat, but if I can kill a Merc Vet, then that unit starts becoming much easier to kill.
Impact hits, yeah.
Yeah. So I did that. He killed me, but I got rid of 1 model. So I was like, that's cool. So he's even down a couple of shots. So that's ideal. And basically what happened was the Merc Vets came forward down that middle line. And down that side of the table, I had the Wretched Ones. And I had nothing to block the Wretched Ones, so they were going to have to randomly move in a direction. So I either were going to move away from them completely and keep the points, or I was going to throw them in. And my thinking was, if I can hit that Merc Vet unit, that deprives him a scoring unit, which means that we are going to be contesting that table quarter.
Okay.
And because I have the other half of the table, I'm going to win the secondary.
Okay.
So that's what I did. Unfortunately, when I did the random movement, they rolled fucking clown shoes and went like 5 inches, which meant that he charged me with the world.
Don't
so
you just hate it when they roll clown shoes?
I think he charged me with like the Tuskers, the Giant, and the Merc Vets. I was like, well, this isn't great.
Yeah, that'll do it.
He's got all these impact hits. I think he killed like half the unit. And I was like, fine, I don't care, unbreakable, stuck. And then over the course of the last 2 rounds of the game, they actually killed the Merc Vets.
Okay.
Put everything into them. So then they got the points for that unit. There were only 4 of them, but it's still a chunk. And again, it was a scoring unit. So he killed the wretched ones. So he got like 600 points, which is a chunk back. But that basically won me the secondary. And at that point, I don't think either of us were willing to gamble. I had moved stuff away from the center line a bit, just because I knew if he had broke that unit, he was going to get a potential charge on his turn. So I think it was still doable. He could have potentially charged the Tuskers out into the Chosen that had turned round, so it would have been a flank charge. A rear charge, sorry. But it was like, he would have needed like 12, probably.
Okay.
And if he fails, he was definitely going to lose the secondary at that point. So I think it was like a calculated risk. He was like, I'm not going to make it. I'll play for the secondary and hope the Merc Vets don't die. But they did die. I think I only had like 1 or 2 wretched ones left when they actually killed the Merc Vets. So it was conceivable. I think I did just enough to kill them. It was pretty tight in the end. So I think he was hoping that we were going to draw the secondary, and it would have been a 10-10 otherwise. But it ended up being a 13-7 to me because we got the secondary. So it was kind of a cagey game. But it was good. I enjoyed playing John A. He's a nice guy. He actually won the Sportsmanship Award.
He did?
Which was kindly donated by Drew, who made this amazing gaming box thing. It was really cool. It was a close game, but I was just happy to get the win after game 3. So,
okay,
pretty happy.
That was 13, so you now need to get 10 points in your last game to break even, Paul.
Yeah, which, going into it, I was quietly optimistic.
Okay. So game 5 is
is
Cataclysm. So this was the other new scenario, and basically Cataclysm. The objective for this is you've got to get as many scenario points as you can, and the scenario points you get for there's one for First Blood, there's one for killing the enemy general. You get a point for every scoring unit you kill, and you also get a point for every scoring unit you have in your opponent's deployment at the end of the game. And while this is going on, there's random occurrences happening. So at the start of each turn, you pull a card from the deck and something random happens. And the random occurrences range from you get a boost to your Inspiring Presence to the Beast of Strivelyn wakes up in the middle of the field and he's a random mover that just kind of gets in everyone's way. So that's the scenario you're playing. Who are you playing?
So ended up playing against Danny, who I played against at Strife.
Yep.
Game 1. This time he had left the Orcs and Goblins at home, and he brought his Dread Elves.
Yes.
So, Dread Elves.
So, Danny had the dragon, right? Dragon list.
Yeah, he had a dragon, he had the altar, he had 3 units of Dark Raiders, he had a big block of spears, he had a couple of bolt throwers, and he had a big unit of Dread Judges. And that was the list, pretty much. So, there were a couple of matchups I had in mind. I was thinking, right, Wretched Ones, Dread Judges, that's what you're for. You're just going to kamikaze yourselves in there and deal with them. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. To borrow a phrase from Andrew, I cut myself in my deployment. So this is the internal debate I have with Wretched Ones. They're random movement, right?
Yeah.
They're great. They're really hard for the opponent to know where the fuck they're going to go.
Yeah.
But it's also really hard for me to know where they're going to go. What I find myself doing, and it is often to my detriment, is I stick them behind a unit of dogs. So the thinking is, I can hold them back when I need to. The dogs can do their bullshit 24-inch move, and I've got all the room in the world to move them out. The problem is, they're random movers, and so they randomly move before I can march the dogs.
For fuck's sake. Yeah.
So, I know this, but I'm thinking, it's fine. I want to set up charges, I want to see what he's doing anyway. I'm not going to get any charges off turn 1 anyway, so I've got time.
Okay, fair enough. Right.
So that's not necessarily a bad thing, but...
You kind of need to go first in that scenario, though, because you need to get the dogs moving. Yeah.
So the problem partly is that he's got these 3 units that all vanguard, the Dark Raiders.
Yeah.
So he can basically chaff me before the game starts.
Yeah.
So on my right-hand side, I had a Chariot, I had the Wretched Ones, and I had some Chosen Knights. So he basically stuck out the Raiders in front of the Chosen Knights, so that I can't get a charge off on either the Dread Judges, which are on that side, or his Spear Block, which are on that side.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, right, I can't get the Wretched Ones to where I will need them to be. So what I'm going to have to do, or what I don't necessarily have to do, but what I chose to do, was say, right, you're still quite far away from me with everything else. Your Dark Raiders are chaffing you, they're chaffing me, so I'll let them chaff you a little bit longer. So I reformed the Chosen Knights to go 2x2. Thinking, I can now get past that unit. If you come forward too much, I'm just going to move around you. And then that frees up the Wretched Ones.
Yeah.
But he didn't do that. He kept his battle line pretty solid and just moved them forward a little bit. But at least this gave me time to move the dogs. So the dogs fucked off. Can't remember what happened to them. They ran off somewhere and got killed. Good fucking riddance. So they're gone. So now I'm thinking, aha, release the Wretched Ones. And now I think I needed like an 8. Or not even maybe as much as that. I basically just needed them to go far enough to sit in front of both of these units, which would then allows me to hit the Raiders with the Chosen Knights, and I can choose to overrun, and he can't charge me because he's going to hit the Wretched Ones, or reform, and then at least I can then
get everything
stay out his way or countercharge on my next turn. And I rolled a fucking 4. So
is that on 3 dice?
That's on 3 dice.
Yeah, okay.
So now I'm thinking,
that's not good.
So what I did, and I thought this was really good, I always really impress myself when I do something that's not even brilliant, it's just sort of makes sense. So it's like, yes, of course you would do that, Paul. Why the fuck would you not do that? So the Chosen Knight unit that were 2x2, I effectively rotated them so that because of where the Wretched Ones were now slightly in front, I rotated them so the Dread Judges could still charge me in the front, but the Wretched Ones would block them. That he was only going to get 2 models touching me.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, right, that limits the damage at least. And I've got 2 knights in combat still, and a mount with a stomp. That's okay. So that's inevitably what happens. The Dread Judges went into the Chosen Knights. If he won combat, he didn't win by very much. We might have drawn, I might have won the combat. It didn't matter because he stuck and then he reformed. And then he reformed in such a way that he went wide by 2 models deep.
Yeah, so
which
just
meant
a long thin line.
A long thin line, which effectively meant that unit could bypass the Wretched Ones, which had blocked them from actually making more contact.
Yeah.
Which I didn't think you could do, but you can do that, which made me sad. So he now had
sad in my heart.
He had I don't know how many fucking Dread Judges, but he had these Dread Judges which do have lethal strike and hatred and all sorts of bullshit rules. So that wasn't looking good.
But does that not now mean that the random movers can then just random move in at the back of the Dread Judges?
That might have been possible. Unfortunately, his dragon had charged
here we go.
him in flank.
Okay, that's not good.
So that's not good. But I'm thinking, well, you're not going to chew through them that quickly because I think he had killed 2 with magic and shooting, so there was still 4 left. Didn't have flame on attacks. I was getting my saves. They're unbreakable. I'm thinking, well, okay, we'll see what happens. The problem is just that the Wretched Ones are strength 4. He's res 6. He's still getting all of his saves because they don't have any armor penetration. So for all that I was getting maybe a couple of wounds through, he was just making his saves.
Yeah.
So I wasn't even chipping wounds off this fucking thing. So he was basically just outgrinding both the Wretched Ones with his dragon and the Chosen Knights with the Dread Judges. So the only saving grace on that side was the Chariot had fucked off up the flank and was now ploughing through bolt throwers. So that was good. On the other side, I had the rest of the army. He had his a big unit of Dread Knights, which had the banner of blood bullshit, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And he had the altar.
I fucking hate that altar. It's so fucking annoying.
It's so fucking good. The ability to choose which buffs it's giving out is so amazing.
Yeah.
So if you imagine those units are facing forward, and in my center I've got a Barb Cav unit, and I've got my Chosen with the Wizard in the Chosen unit, which I was proud of myself. He's in there. Totally works. Come fight me if you want. And unfortunately, he did come and fight me, and he kicked my fucking ass. So I think what has happened was he had another unit of like Dark Raiders out in front, and the chariot hit them, killed them, overran basically, and they needed like, not a massive overrun, they needed like an 8 or 9, and the overrun would have got them into the Dread Knights. And meanwhile, I had a unit of Chosen Knights coming up the other flank, which were now turning round with a Barb Cav unit. So the Barb Cav unit was just going to contest, because one of the scenario points was breakthrough, effectively. And the Chosen Knights could have came round and supported the chariot. Or at least when he had killed the chariot, he could reform, then I could charge him. Unfortunately, the chariot didn't make it, and that got charged by his altar, which then allowed the altar to come further forward on the overrun. So now good. I'm like, I'm going to have to fight that altar. I don't really want to do that, because now it takes me closer to the knights. The chariot, which was ploughing through the bolt throwers, I sent that into the back of the Dread Knights, thinking, right, I can pin you that way.
Yeah.
But that didn't work either, because he basically had already reformed his spear, and they went into the chariot and took the chariot out. So that wasn't good.
Did you not break the knights when you charged them in the...
No, because I charged it on the overrun.
So it was his round, right, okay.
It was his turn next, right. Which meant that he also charged me on his turn. Because he knew that was a possibility after I destroyed the first bolt thrower. So I think he had turned it round thinking that I might put it into the back of the Dread Judges. But I went into the Knights because I was more worried about them at that point, because the Dread Judges were already going to get their points back. So, sad times. 2 chariots down. And what he decided to do was, after he killed the chariot, they kind of reformed a little bit differently, facing forward, and then he decided to give out the extra instance of maximized roll for charges from the altar.
Of course.
Onto the knights, which needed a 10, which is a little bit dicey on 3 dice, but on 4 dice...
Pretty safe.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So both the altar and the knights got into the Chosen. Killed the Chosen before they could even swing. That was disgusting. Nasty.
Ouchie.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. So that was basically the game at that point. He won. He got like more of the scenario points, so he won the secondary. I was only contesting breakthrough with 2 units, and then he had 3 because he had the Dread Knights and the Dread Judges once they had finished with the Chosen Knights, and then he had the spear as well. So he got the secondary. And he also got like first blood and had killed the general and all that, because the general was in the Chosen. So I could at least saved a bit of face by contesting the secondary a little bit more, but he actually ended up winning the secondary and winning the scenario prize for that.
Yep, he did, yeah.
For that game. So Danny, for listening, you're welcome.
He was really far ahead with his scenario points as well.
He got all the scenario points.
Yeah, he had like 9 scenario, everyone else's is like 3, 4.
Yeah, I know. It was a good game though. It was last game, and I figured I'll try and play aggressively because I'm not going to win, so I may as well try and win that particular game. I think the matchup, and interestingly, I was talking to Fraz about this, because Fraz, who is part of the Wildlings, who has been playing Dwarves up to this point, has recently just bought himself a Dread Elf army. I was speaking to him about the tournament afterwards, and he said that he feels that Dread Elves have a lot of very good builds that match up well against Warriors. I don't know if that's true or not, but Danny's list certainly matched up pretty well against mine. I think if the Wretched ones had just rolled a little bit higher, that changes the whole story on that flank. It just means that they're blitzing through the elite unit rather than being mauled by a dragon. I don't know if I had misplayed the Barb Cav units a little bit. Maybe I could have been a bit more conservative in the game. Maybe that made things a little bit easier for him, but I felt like I had some good rolls at points and he had some good rolls at points, so in terms of luck, it probably be balanced out. So I don't feel hard done by in any way. I don't think it was like a gamey win or anything like that. Like, it was a pretty straightforward win on his part. So, and I've only played Danny once before as well, so it was enjoyable to play another one of the Durham guys. And he also was saying that he speed painted his army in like a week, and it looked really fucking nice, which just gives me another reason to hate him.
He did say that, didn't he? That's insane. He did.
Because I was like, it's a really nice looking army, and he was like, do you think I painted it in a week? And I was like, bastard.
I mean, I think I'm pretty quick at painting, but that's next
level.
Well,
he had 25 elite elves, he had 30 spear, he had like...
Yeah, it's not exactly low model count, it's still quite a lot of guys.
15 cav, had a dragon, he had the altar. Yeah, he had 2 bolt throwers, he had stuff to paint. And it looked good. So, that wasn't good. Lost 19-1. Sad face.
19-1, okay.
So, not 10 points.
No. Almost the opposite of what we were going for there.
Yeah. It was annoying as well, because last time we played, I think he beat me 13-7, and I felt going into this game, I was like, I've got a chance to beat him here. This is going to be good.
Yeah.
It just turned to shit very quickly. I think Warriors is one of these armies where you have the potential to really get big wins. Things go your way because you're so hard in combat, but as soon as things start falling apart, there's no backup plan.
You start losing units, yes.
You're losing 600, 700, 800 points at a time. You're just like, oh.
Yeah.
But overall, it was a good tournament. Played a lot of good people. Had fun. So
good. So we'll talk about your list at the end.
Yeah.
But for Siege itself, the overall winner was Shane Baxter. This was the first time Shane came up to our northern event and smashed face, so it was nice to have someone new from out with Scotland win one of our events.
Yeah, he did really well. He got like 78 points or something.
So the points after penalties were applied. So Shane won the event with 76 points. Tim Botnick came in second, with 76 points. Shane just got more actual victory points. Third place was Barry Lynch with his vampires. Barry got 71 points. Fourth place was our very own Ed Murdoch, who was on 64 points. He was using KOE. Yep. Ed had the potential to podium in the last game because he played Tim, and quite rightly, he played aggressively because he needed to get maximised points, but it just didn't come out for him in the end. Fifth place was Matt Wilson, who you played. Matt finished on 55 points. Sixth place was Tim Ross. Again, this was the first time we had Tim up, so that was good. He also had 55. Seventh was James on... I don't have James's points. Something. Eighth 52? Was Stephen Dorning. Yeah, I think it was 52, yeah.
They were on the same, right?
I think that's what it was, yeah. Stephen Dorning with Vampires, he got 52. Danny Minto was ninth with 51. Then we had Drew with his Demons in 10th. Drew got 49. Then we had Nick Armitage with his Beast Herds, 45. We had Tony Swallow, Vampires, 45. 13th was Alex Thomas, who had a very good tournament. Alex got 41. Then we had 14th was Gary. Gary got 40. And then we had John T in 15th, you in 16th, and Martin in 17th, and Henrik nobly bringing up the rear, taking the spoon because he's just such a nice guy, didn't want anyone else to take it.
I'm convinced Henrik just throws games.
I think
that's what he's into.
Yeah. And you know what? It's a great irony that we renamed Best Sports this year the Henrik Mao Award. And Henrik is such a good sport, he lets someone else win it.
That's typical, isn't it?
Classic
like,
Henrik.
As soon as we name it after Tim, he can't win.
Yeah.
Or Henrik can't win. It's like the gods have decided.
Yeah, so come along to Tim Botnick 2019, our new event which we'll be running in.
He did well though. I mean, he got a nice prize for coming last. He got Base Painted Army.
He did. So we should shout out our sponsors. Yeah, so Best Painted was sponsored by
Miniature Art Team.
Sorry,
I thought you were leaving suspense.
No, sorry, I was waiting for you to come in there. Miniature Art Team sent us like a custom case, which was awesome with the Wildland logo on it. So that's a massive thank you to those guys.
Anyone out there looking for a travel case, check them out.
Especially if you go to a lot of events where you need to do air travel and things like that. I'm considering getting one for ETC next year, so that'll definitely be on my mind looking forward. We were also sponsored by Westphalia Miniatures. Mm-hmm. We were sponsored by the guys at Mears again, who were always grateful for their support. Brewdog, actually, through Callum Sinclair, big shout out to Callum, gave us lots of beer for the day. That was great.
We had lots of beer.
Am I missing
Urban
anyone?
Mats.
Urban Mats, sorry. Yep, they sent us a mat prize, which was, again, Urban Mats are another one of the companies that continue to support us, so that's good. I think that was our lot, eh? Yeah. Like you said earlier, because it was meant to be a team tournament, we had lots of prizes, so which worked out well for the guys that won them, because they got all the goodies.
Yeah, I mean, it was good in the sense that we could open it up and we could have a prize for third place, which was good in the end, because there were a lot of fairly close scores. There was,
it was really, really quite tight at the top.
Yeah, at the top. I mean, generally, there was a bit of a divide. But at the top, it was pretty tight.
Yeah, top 4 were pretty tight. The rest of you jabronis were pretty...
We're just slumming it at the bottom. Throwing dice at the wall, being like, how do you play me?
Throwing clown shoes about the place and all that.
Yeah, going,
So, yeah, all in all, very successful event, especially given all the change of formats and stuff we had to go through. But by the sounds of it, everyone enjoyed themselves.
Yeah, it was good crack. And just to kind of reiterate what Andrew said at the beginning, thanks for everyone that took the time to come up. That's what totally makes the day, is hanging out with cool guys like yourselves.
Yep, 100%. It was good seeing the guys and stuff, because we hadn't seen them for a wee while as well, especially the Durham boys.
Yeah,
and it was great to welcome guys like Stephen and Alex and Gary back up, who came to the Scottish Champs, and they've already signed up to the next event, which is our Scottish Champs, which I'll mention again at the end, which is great. So we're consistently attracting players, which is
the same
nice.
Schmoes keep coming back.
They love it
because we're all shit and they keep doing really well.
I think that's
such easy pickings.
That must be 90% of the reason they come. The other 10% is shortbread. So
definitely
come on up, lads.
Shall we move on and talk about your tournament?
Yeah, so we had Siege 2 weeks ago, and fresh from the battlefield myself. So this is Monday the 26th, we're recording today, and Midlands Team event was this weekend. So that was the 24th and 25th. So we as a club sent down 2 teams of 4. So we had Scottish Wildlands A and Scottish Wildlands B. So basically everyone that wanted to have fun came on my team, and everybody that hates fun joined Ed's team.
All the cool guys.
I think that's exactly what happened.
All the serious schmoes went on Ed's.
Schmoes. Yeah, I've never taken a game seriously in my life.
Lol. Whatsoever.
Super competitive. So we decided quite early on that it would be a good idea if Ed captained one team and I captained the other. Mainly just to get a lot of guys down to experience. I think it's fair to say a higher quality of play down south.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I mean, I guess that's one of the disadvantages when you always play within the same club. You're playing against the same people. Yeah. Inevitably, you can start playing against the player and not the army.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing, yeah. So that was good, and it also gave both Ed and I a chance to practice pairings, especially looking forward to ECC, so that was really useful for us.
Yeah. Getting used to throwing people under the bus.
Yeah. Apparently I'm very good at that, and
was that according to you? Was that feedback you had for your team?
Yeah, they were like, Andrew, why are you pairing for yourself? And I said, because I love points. So I actually had a good tournament. Spoilers.
Amazing.
So Wildlands B, our first game was against the Fantasy Wargaming podcast guys. So
yeah, I wish I'd been just to watch that.
It would have been good. Unfortunately, Tony couldn't make the first round or the first day.
Oh.
He had a clash of schedules, so he actually had to get a stand and play his army, which was another Tony who was very nice. So, but it was great I'd never actually formally met Paul before. I'd met Tony, so it was great to meet Paul. And it was a real lovely way to start the event because all the guys were lovely, and we had a great time. So first round.
Armies on show?
Oh yeah. As much as Paul complained about his Highborn elves not being nice, they looked very nice. He's got like a white and red theme, which I love white and red because I think they just work so well together, and the army looked really, really good on the table. Mark was using his what's the word? The Forsaken kind of beasts and stuff from the Warriors book.
Oh yeah, Fallen ones.
Yeah, so he had the Fallen one. He had Giant. He had the Fallen, just the dudes on foot.
Core dudes?
And the core dudes in the Forsworn, they're the Monstrous Infantry guys, right?
Yeah, the chunky fatties from Special, yeah.
Yeah, so his army was really nice. I played against the lovely Matt Paris. He was using Empire army, which was very nice, and...
you would have fancied your chances against that?
Well... Pairing for yourself has many advantages, Paul. Yeah, and the other Tony was using Tony's UD army, which was very nice. So the way pairings worked out, I ended up playing Matt Paris with his Empire. Martin played against Paul. Fraz played against Mark. So Fraz was using dwarves against warriors, Martin was using Sylvan elves against Paul's Hybern elves, and Michael was using an all-mounted Empire list against Tony's Undying Dynasties.
Nice.
So on paper we had 2 greens, a red, and an amber.
So what were your greens?
So my game was a green, Fraz's game was a green, the Martin into Paul was a red, and Michael into Tony was a amber.
Okay, so you're going in thinking you're going to win that round.
So on paper we win the round, yeah. So my game, it was great to finally play against Matt. I feel like I somewhat robbed him this game. And being an Empire player as well, I know exactly how he felt because none of his shooting turned up. Basically, he had a unit of demis, a big unit of demis with a Knight Commander and Young Griffin in it. He had a big block of halberds, he had 2 wizards, 1 pyro, 1 cosmo, a big block of crossbows, big block of state militia, a big unit of Rider with repeater gun, 2 mortars, and the steam tank.
Cool.
So pretty all round, quite shooty. So he could afford to sit back. So basically I've just got to rush him, hope his shooting doesn't turn up turn 1, and just start taking points. So that's what I did. He deployed in a way that allowed me to isolate the chicken knights quite early on. So I basically was able to chaff them and threaten them with the Varkalak, which ended up in the Varkalak going into the flank of the chicken knights and actually breaking them, and they ran away. And the horrors were getting up his face, getting up behind him, and his mortars just did nothing. Like, his mortars really needed to do something this game, and they just did nothing. The steam tank was equally shite. The one time it hit, it wounded. Of course, I rolled my 6-up regen on the horror.
Yeah,
It's just
nice.
It was just one of those games where like nothing was going his way. So how the game unfolded, like I broke the chicken knights on one flank. They then, because it was diagonal, they fled like through his battle line and popped out on the other end. Luckily for him, nothing failed its panic check, but it meant that the knights were essentially out of the game.
Right.
The objective was Spoils of War. Yeah, it was Spoils of War. So I positioned 1 unit of zombies on one side, the Skellies in the middle, and basically for Spoils of War I've come to the conclusion that there's no point going for all 3, just go for 2.
Yeah.
And just hold them, and make sure that you can hold them. So the Skelly block sat on one, and the zombies took the other. So the horrors were able to run riot because none of his shooting was turning up. So one horror got in behind him and started eating through his mortars. The other one was just flying about threatening stuff. And it came down to, he had an opportunity turn 5 and 6 to charge the chicken knights who had rallied into the Shrieking Horror and then overrun into my my Skelly block.
Okay.
To try and contest the objective. So he charged the horror, and on paper he should absolutely kill the horror. Somehow he didn't.
Fuck's sake.
So he got stuck on the horror. He couldn't really reform to avoid the Skelly block, who then smashed into them, and the vampire just ripped him apart. So he ended up getting those guys killed as well. It was just super unfortunate for him. Like, nothing went his way.
Was that a unit of 4 chickens?
It was 5 chickens and a Knight Commander.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
The Knight Commander didn't have any. I think that would be my one criticism of his list, that the Knight Commander didn't have any special weapons.
Okay.
So he was just kind of another chicken.
Yeah.
So I think he needed some kind of damage output on him.
Was he BSB?
No, because the Knight Commander can't be your BSB.
Oh, okay. Reasons.
For reasons, yeah. So basically I took everything off apart from his block of halberds, his prelate and his BSB, because I managed to snipe his Wizard Master. And
nice.
Actually I didn't get the Fire Mage either, because he ran away from one of the Shrieking Horrors very sensibly. So yeah,
I had a Fire Mage as well.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. Because he deployed so deep to run on, that I basically was able to move up, take points without actually coming into short range and stay out of 24. Okay. So, I mean, refuse flank's normally good for shooty armies, but in this instance, I think he deployed maybe a bit too deep. But, I mean, this was a really bad matchup for him. And on top of that, nothing went his way. And having been in his shoes, I know exactly how he felt going into it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've not played in a while, but you played Empire solidly for 2 years, so you know the army.
Yeah, which again,
massive advantage going in.
Yeah, so Matt didn't realise that, like, really who I was. So, like, when we sat down,
I was the best Empire player in Scotland.
So he sat down and he was like, "So do you know what my army does?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm kind of like the Empire community support." And he was like, "So this is not going to go well." So yeah, that finished 18-2 to me with the objective.
Nice. That's good. Solid start.
Solid win. I just feel a bit guilty because I know exactly what it feels like when you're, as an Empire player, and your artillery and stuff just doesn't show up. But
just one of these things. It's a game of dice. It's
yeah.
You just gotta take it as it comes. Like, there's nothing you can do about it, and that's just sometimes you just get stiffed with like such a shit score. But
yeah, and like Matt was a total gentleman about it, and we were running behind a bit on time, and he was adamant. He was like, "No, we'll make sure you get all 6 turns in because it looks like this is going to be a big win for you." He was an absolute pleasure to play against. Really nice guy. All the guys were. So we ended up winning that round because Fraz won 19-1. Martin got 20'd by Paul.
Right.
But then Michael lost small to the Undying Dynasties.
Oh, nice.
So we did end up winning the round. So we got 44 points.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So that was good. So I think that was, not only did we all have nice first games, but it was a nice kind of confidence boost, especially for the likes of Michael and Fraz that haven't played like a bigger kind of English tournament before to get that under their belt. So that was good. Going into round 2, of course, we got the exact same scores as the other Wildland team. So of course we ended up playing them round 2.
Fucking jabronis.
Jabroni squad. So, I mean, the smack talk had been pretty strong going into this. And I set my team one objective for the weekend, which was to come higher than them in the final standings.
Of course.
Of course.
As we said earlier, Ange's not competitive.
No. I was like, I don't care if we lose against everyone else, but we need to beat these guys. So how the parents worked out for that one was basically the one matchup we needed to avoid was Ed into Martin. Ed's too mobile for Martin to deal with, and he can just take stuff like the Dragon off and the Tree Father off and just basically pull the army apart. Everything else was okay. Like, my list is pretty good against all of their lists because they went all mounted for all of theirs.
Yeah.
So we had Ed using his Kingdom Equity, but a different list from the one he had at Siege. It was all mounted. There was Tim with Your Warriors as the Dark Gods.
Yep.
Nick used Empire Sonstall, and Monroe used Hybrid Elves. So the pairings for that one worked out. I played Ed. Fraz played Tim. Monroe played Michael. And Fraz played Nick. That's right, that's everyone.
Yep.
So again, pairings worked out really well for us. Sorry.
Before you say how the games went, did Ed say how he felt the pairings went for their team?
Yeah, so I mean, Ed does this bullshit where he's like, "Oh yeah, we paired really well. Yeah. I mean, we've got good results here. Yeah."
The Ed impression.
I know exactly. He was shitting himself. He was like, they're gonna come for me. It's all over now." He tries to play it cool, but I know.
Oh right, okay. I heard he cried.
Oh, he did. That is absolutely true. That happened. That should absolutely be heard by everyone and spread about. So
I'm joking.
In terms of matchups, we put Martin into Nick because Martin was convinced that he would get a big win out of that.
Yeah.
Spoiler, that didn't happen. So we sacrificed Fraz going into that because Fraz was also convinced that you could get a big win out of Nick, but we gave it to Martin. We put Fraz into Tim because that's still an alright matchup. So actually, I think I was an Amber into Ed because that can really go either way. And we played one game before where I won 13-7, so that was kind of like, I think it was going to be a small win either way. Sorry, a small win, small loss. Martin into Nick was a green. Michael into Monroe was an amber. And on paper, Fraz disagreed with me, but him into Tim was a green, in theory. That's not what ended up happening. So in my game against Ed, it was a really good game. Like, really tactical. But, fuck me, I just wasn't getting the rub of the dice. So turn 1, Ed moves up very aggressively. and he puts his peg knights behind a building, basically threatening a turn 2 charge onto my stuff. He did that thinking that I'll move up and scream him, and I've got one turn to scream him off, or he charges me with the super killy peg lord. So Ed's list has got a peg unit with a very killy peg lord. He's got a very killy hippo lord flying about, a big unit of Knights of the Realm with the impact hit banner, a couple scoring darts at aspirants, 4 units of yeoman for chaff, and a grail bus. So I really like the list. It works really well. He's sacrificing magic for more hitting power, but actually it's very fast, so it can close the gap quick enough that magic shouldn't really be a major impact on it. So yeah, he moves up quite aggressively, and he's thinking that I've got one turn to scream him off. In my head, I'm thinking, actually, I'll just charge you with one of the horrors. So I could, because he used the building to try and block me, I could clip him with a horror. I'm like trying to work it out in my head. I think I should win. He's testing on like a 9, so it's light troops. So I think I should win it. He maybe doesn't flee, but at least I pin him. And there wasn't much in the way of counter charges available. He had quite a long charge with the Knights of the Realm bus. But if it means holding him in that position for long enough that everything else can get up, then I consider that a win. I'll sacrifice the horror in that case. So I needed a 6 on dice, which of course I failed. So the horror trundled forward, and I just had to accept that horror was now dead, essentially. So I tried to position the skelly block so that I could maybe get a counter charge if he didn't overrun far enough. Everything else kind of moved about. It was a very tense game of little margins, but there wasn't a whole lot to actually talk about in terms of, like, it was just little movements here and there. So he charges the horror, he obviously kills the horror, but then he doesn't overrun very far, which allows the skelly block the opportunity to countercharge. I countercharge, he flees over the way in front of my wraiths, which I was okay with because it basically removes the pegs for 2 turns. So I just failed charred in the middle. Meanwhile, the Grail Blast is over on one side, kind of just slowly trundling forward. The Hippo Lord is flying round, trying to get into position. So, this is already not going very well for me. Normally when a Hippo Lord is in your backfield, it's not a pleasant place to be.
It is not.
So on his turn, the pegs rally. I've positioned the Wraiths to then get another charge on them in my turn.
Nice.
I basically just move stuff about. His Hippo Lord's in the backfield. My turn 2, I charge the Wraiths. The pegs fail their terror check.
Nice.
And they were right beside the Wraiths, so they flee away, but they don't flee very far. So they're 12 inches away from the Wraiths, so I need a 6 on 2 dice to just catch them and kill them. Of course, I fail that. That doesn't happen. So the Wraiths fall on their face 2 inches or whatever the fuck it was. The Hippo Lord goes into a zombie block, which I think was a mistake. I don't know why I did this, because now I'm thinking, right, I can hold him there. So he starts eating zombies, but the zombies are still there, obviously. My turn, the skelly block can't decide whether to go one way or the other, so it's kind of like moving about in the middle. I've now got these grails coming round. He's chaffing the Varkalak, so it can't really do anything. I have to move one of the horrors away from the grails, because that's bad news if that gets in. I'm also trying to hide them from the Hippo Lord. So basically, to cut a long story short, it all comes down to the fact that the grails position themselves looking at the skelly block's front, and the Hippo Lord is fighting the zombies somewhere to their back. So I position to take the charge from the grails, because I'm thinking that it'll hurt their charge, but he's hit me on force because of parry, and then my vampire will just slowly grind them out.
Yep.
And if I can hold them for 2 turns, the Varkalak should get into their flank or rear, because the Vark will have chased off his chaff by then. Unfortunately, his Hippo Lord crumbles my zombie unit to a man, like exactly on my turn, so he repositions.
Yeah.
So then he charges the Hippo Lord into the rear of my skelly block, and the Grails into the front.
Sad times. So
this is bad times at the El Royale. In the ensuing combat, I get the Hippo Lord down to 1 wound.
Really?
Yep. I think I might have cast a snipe spell at him at some stage.
Oh, okay.
Or a horror might have got the scream off at him at some stage. So he had 1 wound left. Fuck. It basically comes down to turn 2. He does 1 wound to my vampire. I roll. I do 3 wounds. He's got 4 up regen. If he fails one of them, he dies. It means that the Hippo's no longer in the rear. it means that the Grails really don't do that much to the scale block, and they can regrow the Skellies and get the Vark in, kill the Grails, and this turns into a win for me.
Yep.
He makes all 4 of the regen saves. He then kills the Vampire, which then causes the army to crumble. I lose the other Horror. The Wraiths, who are chasing these fucking Peg Knights, and they fail to catch them again when they flee. But they actually finally got into them that turn.
Right.
And then they crumbled before they could fight. So
Fuck's sake.
it's like, ah!
Did the Peg Knights live?
So I got the Peg Knights themselves,
Alright,
because
okay.
I reaped them or something to get rid of them. It was only the Peg Lord, but like that unit really should have been dead quite early on. And then obviously him grinding the zombies down exactly was super unfortunate, because it meant he could reposition in my turn in charge, and then not killing the Hippo Lord was frustrating as well, because that basically cost me the Vampire and ultimately most of my army. So I mean, it was a really good game, like really tactical, like had to think about everything, really swingy. I think we both made a couple small errors in positioning, but ultimately it went Ed's way, and he got a 19-1 out of me.
So you got the secondary.
Yeah, he got the secondary as well. I mean, he's so mobile that I couldn't really... It was Spoils of War.
Yeah.
So I was never really going to get that.
How did you find playing against an old cavalist?
Like, on paper, it doesn't really bother me, because he's obviously relying on armour, and I've got an anti-armour army.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd played...
Ward saves on some stuff, though, right?
See, this is the big difference. This is why his army was an amber and the rest were greens for me, because he can basically afford to get Shrieking Horrored, because he's still got that reserve save. Obviously, he doesn't want to, but he's got a second line of defence. So yeah, I mean, I played Ed before with the exact same lists, and I won 13-7. But I think the difference in that game was I definitely got the luck and he didn't. Whereas in this game, I think he got the luck and I didn't.
Failing like 2 6-inch charges and not catching a fleeing unit, that seems a bit
It is, but like,
unlikely.
To be fair, when we played before, he did 7 wounds onto a Horror, and I made 5 out of 7 6-up regen saves. So
yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah, that is bullshit as well. So I mean, swings and roundabouts. You can't really. It's not really Ed's fault that he rolled better than me. Like, it's kind of the idea of the game. But I was just annoyed that was a big loss that basically came down to just a couple of dice rolls not going my way. But it's the nature of the beast.
It's an interesting list. He's got no magic.
He's got no magic, yeah. And we talked about this after, and he said he didn't really miss it, because basically he's sacrificing a caster for another combat unit. So yeah, I actually really like his list. It works really well. So across the board, Michael lost small to Monroe, I think. Fraz lost big to Tim. Sorry, medium to Tim, I think. I think it was maybe a 15-5.
Okay.
I can't remember off the top of my head, that's probably wrong. And then I think Martin won small against Nick when he promised he'd win big.
Okay.
So it's essentially Martin's fault, really, the entire thing.
So everything went to plan apart from...
Yeah, I mean, in pairings-wise, that was actually... The pairings were okay for that one, because it was going to be tight, but it was okay. But obviously me cocking up my game against Ed, and Martin not getting enough points.
When you mentioned that Fraz kind of fancies his chances against him, was that the case? Or was it you fancied his chances against him?
So, Fraz does not... He's got the mental barrier against playing warriors.
Right.
Because he thinks that they outfight him. Which some units definitely do, but I think across the board that he's actually in a pretty good position to counter them.
It's the resilience that the dwarves have got going for them.
Yeah, and like, so Tim's list was multiple units of Chosen Knights, Feldrick Ancestor, a unit of Feldrakes. It's like stuff that Seekers, like 2 Vanguard and Seeker blocks, which was Frazzy's list, and a Greybeard Vanguard and block with a Kelly King in it. Like, they're not really bothered about that.
Yeah.
So on paper it was fine, but I think things, from what I saw of their game, things just didn't go to plan, and he got counter charges in. So I'm not actually 100% not sure what happened there, because I looked over at one point, it looked to be going really well, and then when I looked back again, Tim had all sorts of shenanigans going on. So
I guess Tim knows the dwarf book.
He does, yeah, which would have been a big advantage there.
Yeah. I'm just thinking how much that might have played into it in terms of him picking what matchups actually he wanted, and how many of them Fraz thought he had wanted, and maybe it just went Tim's way. But I would agree with you. Like, I don't really like Tim's list.
Yeah.
Chosen Knights are solid. Can't really go wrong with them. Feldrakes are a good unit. They're cheap for what they do, but the Ancestor, I'm not really a fan of. I think he's too expensive. He's came down in the new book, but and giving him a great weapon. I mean, he's strength 7 base. I would rather give him pair weapons and make him 7 attacks, offensive skill 7, strength 7.
Yeah.
But Tim did really well with the list, so he obviously knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
The BSB on the Chimera is a bit of a weird one as well. You don't really see many people using that, so maybe that just caught people off guard.
Yeah, potentially.
Having that mobile reroll, pretty useful. But I take it the smack talk was at an all-time high during this round.
Yeah, so I've very foolishly said to Ed that we were playing for the captaincy of the ATC team. Which I ultimately regretted after he smashed my face in.
So, as captain,
yeah,
obviously this was the second round. Like, were you taking timeouts to go around the tables at all? Were you and Ed doing that?
Yeah, we did actually. We did a couple times. I mean, because it was only 4-man teams, you could kind of look and see, and everyone was playing in the same role, so you could look and see, and everyone was giving thumbs up or thumbs down every now and again. So there wasn't such a need for detailed team talks, but there was definitely a couple times throughout the event that, like, Martin would come up and ask me for an opinion, or Michael called me over and stuff like that. So,
did looking over at the other tables, how the other games were going, did that factor into how you were playing at any point?
No, not really.
Are we just like, screw these guys, I'm going for the win?
I kind of, like, Ed's list is difficult for me because of the ward saves.
Yeah, but you knew that going in.
Yeah, and basically he took a timeout turn 1. He took a timeout with Tim. And I know exactly what he would have asked him. He was like, right, I've got an opportunity to go aggressive here and potentially come out away with a win, a big win. Or it could go tits up.
And Tim obviously said, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think Ed saw the charge for the horrors. If that had gone, I think maybe it's a different game. Again, if the Wraiths take the Peg Knights, then that means they can, I mean, they were pretty far removed, but at least they can go up and actually, he only took one of the Spalls counters, which was near the Wraiths.
Right.
So if the Wraiths had got the Pegs early enough, they could have gone off and try at least terror check the Knights Aspirant. Although they're frenzy, aren't they? So they're
only on the charge.
Oh, only on the charge. Okay, so there's potential that they run away. But basically, it all came down to that big combat with the Skelly block. But you know, shit happens. But it was a really fun game.
It's just, I mean, I guess, like you said, the first game was really good because you got a team that was really laid back, really a nice kind of entry into the day, into the event.
Yeah.
I guess playing against people that you play against all the time, did you feel like there was a little bit more pressure? Because you felt like on the games where you expect to win, you think, well, there's more pressure on me now because I should win this because we play each other all the time.
Ed's quickly becoming my my new bogey player.
Oh, really? It was Guillermo for a while.
It was Guillermo for a while, but like, I think I've beaten Ed the last 3 or 4 times I've played him at the club.
Okay.
But that's 2 tournaments in a row now where he's fucking smashed me. So
lulling you. It's the long play.
That's probably what it is. Yeah. So
cunning.
But no, it was a really, like, in terms of like appreciation of the game, it was super tactical, really close, really good game. Really enjoyed it.
Nice.
But they capped the shit out of us. Like, that one hurt. That was bad. Yeah. So I braced myself for all the smack talk in the world over dinner.
Who did you end up round 3 then?
So to recover from that capping, we, a nice little easy matchup against England Lions.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so that's
I'd hate to think that you went into a tough game after.
Oh yeah, no, nice and easy. English ETC team, awesome.
Why were they slumming it down the bottom?
Because I don't think they were. I think it was
Submarine.
It was the amount of teams, so they couldn't have teams playing the same teams twice. Because there was only 12 teams.
But
so
they can have teams play each other all the time. That's no shenanigans.
Well, some would say.
I smell shenanigans.
So we played England Lions. So that had Mikey Newman on it playing Dwarves, Craig Johnson playing Beast Herds, Warren Brewster playing Soaring Ancients, and who have I forgotten?
Tanka? Adam Jones?
Oh, Tanka, yeah, sorry, Tanka, yeah. Tanka was playing his Ogres. So again, I think this was potentially our best pairings. This was something, well, across the weekend, we paired very, very well. We just played dog shit. I think that was the main issue. So, in theory, we did well. In practice, we did appallingly. I know, right? It's a game of two halves, eh? So, basically...
Paired well and thought, right, my work here is done.
Very well. So, at ETC, I expect to do my, the vice captain's part very well.
Yeah.
But the actual playing might be difficult.
That's all right.
So... in terms of pairings, we got Fraz and Tamiki, which Fraz wanted because, quote, he would smash him. Spoiler, that doesn't happen. Craig went into... Who did we get into Craig? Because Michael ended up playing Tanka, which was an amber, so that was okay. So green, amber. I played Warren, which was a green for me. And Martin played Craig, which I think was a green for Martin. It was a green or an amber. So, I'd never played Warren before, but I'd wanted to play Warren for a while because Warren was at ETC, and we were chatting when we were in Zagreb, so this was very cool that I got to play. Warren was not happy about this matchup, which was good because it meant that the prediction was right.
Who was captaining the England Lions team?
So this was Mikey that was captain.
Right, so he just said, right, fuck you, Warren, you're getting thrown under the bus.
So yeah, I mean, on paper, we paired very, very well, so we got 3 greens and an amber. Mm-hmm. So I think they did fuck up the pairing on this one.
Okay.
At least on paper. Obviously, in practice, they did not. But on paper, they did. So my game against Warren, Warren was using Saurians, but the Alpha Carno, which has been the kind of trademark of Warren over the last year, was not present. Instead, he had a Slan, lots of little, I think 3 units of Saurus.
Yeah.
He had 3 Stygiosaurs, a Taurosaur with the engine, the Ancients, 2 Salamanders, and a Spearback.
Did you have Raphodon Riders as well?
Oh yeah, he had a unit of Raphodon Riders and a Warlord or a Cowboy on a Raptor.
Cool.
So basically, lots of little units that I can easily scream off and reap and stuff like that. So this is very, very green for me. So this is a perfect example, kids, of a very good matchup against a good player, where they know that they are in a bad matchup, so they will not let you play the game you want to play. So Warren very quickly realised that this was not an advantageous game for him.
Okay.
So he played very defensively. He held back, and basically the game was super cagey, and he was going to just try and take small points and contest the objective. He made one mistake in deployment, which basically ensured that I would get a small win, and that was he left one Stygiosaur, a unit of Saurus, and a Salamander on one side, and there was like a building separating them from the rest of his battle line.
Okay.
So turn one of my horrors went up to scream off the Salamander. Mm-hmm. So this was a calculated risk, because he couldn't charge me with a Stygiosaur. The only charge he could get off was the Saurus into the horror. I cast Whispers of the Veil off on the Stygiosaur to reduce his leadership, because he was so concerned about me sniping his Slan. Scream off the Salamander, and then the Stygiosaur fails its leadership check and runs off the board.
Wow.
The Saurus pass, but they're now fucked, basically, because they're about to get a Shrieking Heart to the face. So that basically won me the game, that one move. Because then the Horror then charged the Saurus and killed them, and the rest of the game was us basically just trying to take small points off each other. Because
sorry, just in terms of deployment, was it back and forth, or did you just drop for first?
It was pretty back and forth. Like I dropped my dogs early on to try and get a sense of where he was going, but he's got so many units.
Yeah.
So I ended up dropping quite early. As soon as basically he dropped the Stygiosaur and the small unit of Saurus,
that was you knew what you were going to do.
So basically, that little corner, I thought that's easy points I can get early on. I'll take that and see how the game goes. So the rest of the game was super cagey, just try to take small points off each other. Because he said that he was surprised I didn't push more, but I felt I couldn't push because he had so many counter charges lined up.
Yeah.
And I mean, the Skelly block is really good in this matchup, but if it gets charged by everything in the world, there's only so much that the Vamp can do.
Yeah.
So my plan was to basically sit on one objective. It was 2 pennies, this one.
Okay.
Secure target. It's just I was sitting on one, And this was another mistake Warren made. He kind of put the objectives too close together. So it meant that I sat and won. And late game I was going to try and bum rush on the second one, steal both. But he cottoned onto that and just loaded the second one with the scoring unit, so I never really got that. So yeah, there's not really a lot to say on this one. It was a really tactical, really cagey game, really enjoyable, really good fun, but not a lot actually happened. Warren was kind of unlucky not to get more points. Like, he absolutely should have pyroed off a unit of dogs at one stage, but he left one alive, which I just raised back up.
Yeah.
He got one of the horrors down to 2 wounds, which I just raised back up. Because he was basically just trying to pyro me, but he wasn't doing enough damage to take out a unit at a time, which meant that I could just heal. And I basically just held all my soft points back, so stuff like the bats and the dogs and the wraiths, and just kept them as too far back for him to magic missile.
Okay.
And I used the horrors to zone, so he couldn't get in stuff behind. So basically, as soon as I took those small points early on, essentially ensured the small win. And everyone else, like the other games, didn't seem to be going well, so I just took the points where I could and didn't risk anything too rambo.
So what was the score in the end?
So that ended 12-8 to me with the objective drawn.
Nice. So
a nice win there. But like I say, it was great to play Warren, and it was a good fun game. My team, on the other hand, had a mixed results. So Michael, the hero Doherty, got a 10-10 against Tanka.
Nice.
Which is very good. Fraz, I will smash Mikey Newman, Campbell, got smashed
by... It's new name forever.
Got smashed by Mikey Newman.
Right, okay.
And Martin got quite unlucky against Craig. And I think Craig cyclopsed his dragon off and stuff like that.
Ugh.
So I think that was a decent win at Craig. So they capped the shit out of us as well.
Okay, so it was really those 2 games that screwed you over, because you've got a draw and a small win otherwise.
Yeah, exactly. So, on paper, if Fraz had won and I'd won, although technically my pairing was off because I only got 12 and I should have got at least a 13, according to the greens and stuff, but it was just the kind of, this is how pairings all go tits up, basically, because all it takes is one game to throw you off, and then the others have to basically either pull or push.
Mikey's list looks pretty cool. 2 units of 6 Hold Guardians.
Yeah, which Fraz assured me that he would just run through.
Do Slayers do well against Hold Guardians?
Yeah, they can take great weapons, can't they? So.
Oh shit, they got Weapon Master.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think dice were involved in that game though, by Fraz's account.
Yeah, did these shooting turn up? He's got copters, he's got catapults, cannon.
Yeah, I think that Fraz just had a bit of a horror show, and Mikey had very hot dice.
Right.
So I think that played in it.
Michael getting a 10-10 against Tanka, that's really good.
It's very good. So they were playing on the table next to me, and I have got a lot of time for Tanka, and Tanka was like, yeah, you got that. He earned it. Because basically it came down to, there was a big combat in their game where something flank charged, because Tanka thought that you couldn't issue challenges if you were charged in the flank or something like that.
Right.
But, so this was a flank charge into Michael's big night bus, which has like all these characters in it, including the Commander of the Sonstall. So I think the Sonstall guy did something quite drastic that turned the tide, basically, and held them. So that's why it was a 10-10.
It's quite a cool list he's got.
Yeah, it's very cool. So that's like classic Tanka list. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
nice.
So they kept the shit out of us, but...
Yeah, I mean, that makes it sound worse than it actually was, though. I guess 4-man teams, that's all you need, though, right? You just need 2 good, strong performances, and then that's you won the round.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. But it was good fun. It was cool to play Warren, because I hadn't played one before.
Yep.
And then we had to endure dinner, where the other Wildland team were actually very gentlemanly about it, admittedly.
Well, you were driving some of them home, right?
Yeah, exactly. So Nick and Monroe knew where their bread was buttered, like.
You're getting left in Carlisle if you don't shut the fuck up.
So yeah, we went out for dinner and then had some drinks. Nick and Fraz went out after it. Which,
really?
Which I think both of them regretted the next morning. Well,
I think that's an after show. We should get them on and find out what happened.
I think Nick regretted it. I think Fraz was probably still drunk in the morning.
It probably just didn't stop.
Yeah, probably. So yeah, that was a good day 1. Going into day 2, we got paired against Blunt Force Trauma.
Cool.
Which had Matthew Pell with his Warriors, Sean Hughes with Vermin Swarm, Daniel Winter with Ogre Cans, and Adam Lake with Beast Herds.
Cool.
So before I go any further, I owe Adam multiple shout-outs, because Adam was one of the unfortunate people that had to endure me talking to them while I was absolutely pissed in Zagreb. And I promised him multiple shout-outs in this drunken state and then forgot about them. So I promised Adam that I would tell one story in particular of just how unlucky Adam is. He played against... He was using Inferno Dwarves, ETC. He was playing against Undying Dynasty list, which had double catapult and divination.
Right.
In 2 turns of the UD player, he took out 2 units of Torque Anointed and Kadim Titan.
What?
So he just rolled out the box for, I think it was Fate's Judgment?
That's one of them.
Yeah. So that just took off a Kadim Titan, and then he got like max hits on the catapults, which just took out the Toroks and stuff like that. Adam was telling me about this in Zagreb, and I was just like, fucking hell, so unlucky. And he had a couple games like that. He played against an Empire list where everything went tits up turn 6, and he lost big whilst being in a very commanding position. So, parents for this one, Matthew Pell was the captain, and Matthew told Fraz that he would play any of us aside from that vampire guy, aka me. Because I love me some Warriors.
The hate for the VC is strong.
Oh, it is, yeah. So parents for this one, Matthew played Michael, which was a green for us. Sean played Fraz, which was an amber. But basically, Sean's list was really bad for mine because he had Abominations and Vermin Hulks, and it was really bad for, I think, Martin's as well on paper. So it was good to kind of get that in an amber rather than giving them the green. Mm-hmm. Daniel with the Ogres played Martin, which was an amber. And then I got into Adam, which was, I'd said an amber, but it probably was a green on reflection. So I played Adam before. Adam's a really nice guy. Obviously I know him from ETC as well. He was using Beast Herds, and he has this really nicely painted brand new Beast Herd army, which has shitloads of centaurs.
The centaurs in the world.
Oh, it's quite similar to Craig's idea for the Beast Herd. So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 centaur chieftains. He's got a soothsayer, a bunker for the soothsayer, 2 units of ambush and wild horns, 2 units of ambush and longhorns. He's got a unit of 14 centaurs, 2 units of 8 centaurs and gargoyles. So super aggressive, super fast. He was kind of saying that his idea was most people would corner against it. Mm-hmm. And basically centaurs bum rush up, and then the ambushers come on from the side and basically just overwhelms them. I kind of thought that that's what would happen. So Adam said that he was only going to ambush his infantry, so he was keeping the centaurs on. And basically Adam made one mistake in deployment, which cost him the game. So I had my horrors, and he deployed his centaurs on the line, and this was Spoils of War as well, so it's not a particularly good scenario for me. So basically I just decided that I need to rush, I need to take off at least 2 units of centaurs early on, dominate the middle of the board, and basically be able to fight the infantry as they come on. So he deployed 1 unit of centaurs on the line, and then he had his big unit with his general and his BSB in the middle, and then the other centaurs on the far flank. So I put the Varkalek on one flank to basically play Ring Around the Roses with 1 unit of centaurs. Mm-hmm. Because there was a building in the middle which I just intended to run around. I sent the dogs up to chaff the big block. I chaffed the other block of centaurs to ensure that if the horrors didn't kill them all, that at least he couldn't do anything with them. And basically I took that centaur unit off turn 1. He had 1 centaur chief in that unit, which had 1 wound left, who then gloriously charged against a horror and got punked. And then Adam realised that this was not going to be a fun morning for him. And he basically quickly realised that this was going to go tits up very quickly now, because I could just keep chaffing that big block of centaurs and scream the shit out of them. Yeah. And we played until I think it was turn 3 we played, and he was like, look, you've got this, because I was just about to take off his big block, and it was just going to be a matter of time before I got his wizard in his wizard bunker. So he was like, look, everything that ambushes, I'm going to ambush in the opposite corner from you so you don't get the points. I'm going to run that unit of centaurs as far away from you as possible, but you're going to get everything else. So he just called it there because he was like, this is going to go tits up very quickly. So we just counted up there. So he got both units of dogs. Actually, I think he got both units of dogs, but that was it. And then I took off most of his army, unfortunately.
It's rough.
So it was a 19-1 to me. But literally, it was that one mistake in deployment that cost him the game. Because although like he's very sensitive to the shrieking horrors on my snipes, because he doesn't have much in the way of saves, it's still like super mobile for me to deal with.
Yeah.
Especially if he gets one centaur blocking at the front and one at the flank of the skelly block, and if the centaurs get into the horrors, they should kill them just because of the amount of strength 5 attacks. So
yeah,
it's not a super matchup for me. He's just quite weak to the stuff I'm good at.
Yeah, it's kind of like facing up against warriors, but worse because they've got no saves.
Yeah, and even like his characters didn't have any special saves. My snipes have the potential just to kill characters. So yeah, that was pretty brutal.
It's when you lose a game that quickly, it just totally demoralizes you. Like first 3 turns, you're like, oh, the game's over.
Yeah, I think that's what he was kind of just annoyed at himself for making the mistake.
Yeah. At that point, you're just ready for like stopping because you know you've lost, so you may as well just like chill out, get a beer, and just enjoy. Well,
that's basically what we did. We just kind of we totaled up there. We just sat and chatted for a wee while. And then we both kind of kept an eye on the other games and stuff. So
how'd the team do?
So I think we actually capped them this round. So
nice.
Michael lost small to Matthew.
Yeah.
Fraz won big against Sean, which was really good.
Nice.
And then Martin lost small against Daniel, I think.
Okay, so you weren't really giving away many points while...
So yeah, exactly, yeah.
The Lions did to you guys, you've basically just done it to these guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Michael seems to be having a pretty good tournament, not
exactly,
really giving away many points.
Well, this was it, and this was something that I spoke to Michael about. Like, it can sometimes feel, especially in a team tournament, if you're not winning, it's not going well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not giving away lots of points. And to be fair, like, Michael wasn't getting a lot of great matchups. Ironically, that was, I think, maybe only one of the 2 greens he got across the weekend. Yeah. But he wasn't giving away lots of points, which is the important thing.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're into something that's got like super good high AP, like Empire Cav, it's that 1-up save.
Yeah, exactly. So resistant. So yeah, unfortunately that went tits up on Adam. But the Blunt Force Trauma boys were all lovely guys, pleasure to play.
Where do they play out of?
I think it was a bit of a ragtag team. I'm not sure where Matthew, Sean and Daniel are from, but Adam, he's kind of from the Birmingham area. I think he's from Wolverhampton, actually, he said.
Okay.
But Adam was kind of just looking for a team because all the other Welsh ETC boys had already found teams. So he was kind of left looking for a team, and I think they were looking for an extra player. So that's how he ended up in there. So yeah, big shout out to Adam. Unfortunately, things just didn't go his way, but I'm sure that he'll repay the favour next time.
So that kind of makes up for round 3.
Yeah, so that basically
going into round 5.
Cancels that out. So round 5, we got drawn against the Dudley boys.
Right, okay.
So after winning that round, the spirits are up again. We're feeling good. We reckon that we're far enough down the table that we should probably avoid the big hitters.
Yeah.
So probably play another kind of mid-table team, get a decent result there, potentially finish higher than the other boys. This did not happen.
Enter the Dudley Boys.
Enter Dudley Boys stage right. So the Dudley Boys included Sam Freestone, who was playing Empire, Jordan Blaine, who had the new Vampire Covenant, Jack Chapman, who was using Vermin Swarm, and Kieran Shaw, who was using Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
This is not good for us. This was possibly the one team that we needed to avoid all tournament.
Really?
Our matchups
Too many reds.
Honestly, it looked like a red light district on our spreadsheet. It was bad.
Not the good kind.
Not the good kind. The very bad gonorrhea type. This is the shit that's going on in our spreadsheet. To be fair, they absolutely knew it was bad. So like,
Right, okay.
during the pairing process, they could see the anguish on my face. Particularly Jack's list, and to a lesser extent Sam's list, are just horrendous matchups for me. I mean, Jack's list has got all the tools in the world to kill Shrieking Horrors. Sam's got double cannon and a dragon that can fly about and strike before the horrors and just kill them. So it's really not good. Pairings for this one.
Yeah.
We kind of just accepted that they were going to go tits up. So I took the bus to the face and got Jack to play against.
Did you drop yourself first?
No, we put Martin first because actually dropping first isn't technically going on the bus because you can choose.
Yeah.
So I think there's a bit more flexibility in that than people give credit. So we put Martin into... Oh no, sorry, did we put Fraz down first? Yes, we did, sorry, we put Fraz down first. So we got Fraz into the Warriors list.
Okay.
Because that's basically a smash up. And Fraz was not optimistic about this matchup, but I very was.
Before we started this podcast, we had a conversation about you saying that Fraz is really hating against Warriors. And how many times has he played them?
3 times. I'm convinced it's a green, right?
Right, okay.
I mean, this weekend was basically Fraz telling me that he doesn't want to play Warriors and me putting him into Warrior matches.
Yeah. Okay.
So we put Fraz into the Warriors. I took Jack. Or sorry, they paired Jack into me. I did not want to play Jack,
right,
but that happened. Jordan played Martin and Sam played Michael in an Empire mirror match. So on paper, the mirror match is going to be an amber because realistically, Sam shouldn't be able to do much to Michael. Jordan against Martin is quite swingy. Probably Jordan's got the edge there, but Martin's can kind of hide stuff and take points where he can. So Martin was not happy about playing vampires, but it's probably a better matchup than we gave credit for actually going into the round.
Yeah.
Me playing Jack is a fucking train wreck, and Kieran playing Fraz is just a smash up, and it's basically going to be who's smashier. So that could go either way. Either way. So me playing against Jack. This was highly amusing to Jack and Sam, who thought this was the funniest thing ever that I was having to play the worst matchup on the face of the planet. So Sam played for Wales at ETC, Jack played for Wales. I know all the boys in that team from playing the English tournaments before. So, having realised that I was going to get my ass handed to me, I kind of just embraced the shitstorm and just tried to take it on the chin. So it was like... Jack actually summed it up brilliantly. He said that it's actually comical how badly the odds are stacked against you. And I accepted that with a smile. So we obviously weren't going to win the event. Mm-hmm. The rest of the matchups were pretty bad. Or at least I was thinking that they were pretty bad in terms of likely outcomes. So instead of just sitting in a corner and letting Jack take me off, I tried to play a bit risky and push him. Mm-hmm. So I dropped for first quite early on because I was trying to get him to think that I was going to go in one corner and go in the other. Okay. And then it was breakthrough the secondary, so maybe I thought I'll sneak through some scoring units and contest the secondary and maybe lose smaller rather than bigger. But I had to drop early on because he's just got so much. Like, he has the little rat units, the dreadmills and shit like that. So I wasn't going to out deploy him. So I dropped everything for first turn, and I basically just decided that I was going to go balls out. And if it worked, it would have been great. If it didn't work, I figured that it wasn't any worse than sitting and getting shot off.
Yeah.
So Jack's list was Vermin Demon. He's got a BS, just a little shit rat with a flag for his BSB. He's got the Pendulum with the Patriarch on it. 34 Brotherhood, 38 Vermin Guard, 4 Vermin Hulks with Rotary Gun, 2 units of Giant Rats, 4 Giselles, Lightning Cannon, Dreadmill. So this is not good for the horrors. He had deployed one of his Dreadmills on one side on the line, and the other one very close to it.
Okay.
And he had a couple units nearby, so I figured that I'm going to try and alpha strike with the horrors. I'll try and scream off both the Dreadmills, maybe cause a panic check, and basically take it from there.
Yeah.
The way he deployed, he had his Pendulum kind of center, and in the center of the table, and the demon beside it, and everything was kind of pushed over to the right hand side of the table.
Okay.
So I moved up the horrors, and I intentionally put one horror kind of middle, one to scream off the Dreadmill, and to offer him the chance to charge the demon into the horror.
Yeah.
And the thought that if he takes the charge, he'll kill the horror, and I can countercharge with a scaly block and try and res the demon to death. So I chaffed the pendulum unit with a unit of dogs, chaffed the vermin guard unit with the other dogs, so overall very safe turn 1. I scream off both of the Dreadmills, which is good. He passes the panic checks, which the demon's like discipline 9 18-inch bubbles, so it wasn't too surprising. His turn 1, he takes the charge with the demon. He goes into the horror. The pendulum goes through the dogs. The vermin guard goes through the other dogs, which is all fine. Because one horror has positioned itself like behind a hill, you can't see that with one cannon, and the other horrors in combat, a lot of his shooting can't actually do much, which is fantastic.
Nice.
All according to plan. I'd sent the Varkalak around into his backfield to threaten his lightning cannon and the Jezzails.
Yep.
So the Vermin Hulks turned round and shot at the Varkalak with the rotary gun, did a wound, which was pretty good, actually. That's all going according to plan. This is all very good. The icing on the cake is that the Vermin Demon fails to kill the Shrieking Horror. I'm thinking, this is muy bien, incredible. I've just salvaged this shit show of a match into potentially a win here. So the Skelly block charges into the Vermin Demon. They make it, which is a nice change after some of the other games. So this is beautiful. Everything's working. I then sit, as we get into combat, I sit and I work out the combat res, and I'm speaking aloud, so I'm saying to Jack, I'm like, right, so if I challenge with my Skelly champion, he'd reformed the demon to face the Skelly block, so the horror was now in the demon's flank.
Yeah.
So I had like charge, banner, BSB, 5 ranks on the Skelly block because of the Legion banner, and I had the flank. So we worked out that he was going to lose by 4. So I'd like, this took like 2 minutes of me talking out loud and Jack agreeing and going along with it. And I said, right, so I'll challenge for the Skelly champion. And he says, no, I'll decline. And I was like, so you're not going to attack? And he said, no, I've got callous, which means I can't accept I can choose to decline the rule. And I think my face crumpled.
Fell like your arse.
I was, oh, fuck. I've absolutely cocked this up. I asked him 3 times. I was like, are you sure he's got that? And he was like, yeah, he's got callous. That's the rule. They give him that. And I looked it up, and I looked up the demon's profile, and it had callous, and I was like, shit, I've made a massive cock up here. This has just meant that this whole stratum of me trying to get points here is just going to fucking explode my face. So it then meant that he could assign tax into the vampire. And over 2 rounds of combat, I did kill the demon, but he ended up killing the vampire. Which meant that the horror, which was now broken free from combat and could have gone off and threatened stuff, was now dead. Yeah. The other horror crumpled terribly and died. And basically the army just disintegrated around me. He managed to catch the Skelly block in the end with the pendulum unit and wipe that out. So at the end of the game, I had my 2 necromancers and the wraith unit. I think that was it, because the Varkalak had taken a lightning cannon to the face.
Fuck.
So that was all I had left of the army.
Yeah.
So he obviously got objective. So it was a 19-1 to Jack. I later found out that the demon doesn't have that rule, and that it would have had to accept the challenge. I messaged Jack, and he 100% fair play to Jack. He put his hand up and he was like, that is a major cock up to me. That was 100% my fault. And his words, right? I've got my phone. Because I'm never going to get this opportunity to shame Jack again. So I figured that I might as well go all in. So his words were, we will call it 1-0 to you between us for now though. I'll accept that. That's good. So yeah, I've got the moral high ground, but he got the result.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that was just a genuine mistake from Jack, but shit happens. My game against Jack was probably my favourite of the event. I was very lucky that I got 5 great games, but that game against Jack was just, because I genuinely felt that I could get something out of nothing there.
Yeah.
And he did not expect me to push. The horrors did really well, taking out the Dreadmills. It was just a really tense game. After going into the matchup thinking I'm going to get absolutely pumped here.
Yeah.
It was thoroughly enjoyable. Jack was great to play against. It was just that one rules cock up at the end, but, you know, it was funny because I didn't even realise until we were driving up the road. And I was telling, so Monroe, Nick and Martin were in my car driving back up the road, and I was telling the story, and Monroe was like, the demon doesn't have that rule. I think they heard my screams in Manchester when we were driving back up the road, but these things happen. No big deal. Just a little life lesson to everyone out there. Always actually check rules. Because as much as it was a cock-up, like, I 100% should have checked the rule myself. And I was just angry at myself for not actually going and checking it.
I think in the heat of the moment, you're conscious you're playing to time. If someone's adamant that, you know, they've got the rule right, it's kind of hard not to take them at their word sometimes. It's kind of like what we were saying earlier about the fearless fuck-up in my game. I could have fled, but I didn't think I could.
Yeah.
Because that was just, I wasn't prepared to think that was wrong. I figured, that sounds like that's going to fuck me over. That's probably the rule. So yeah, we'll go with that. To come close to actually getting a good result out of a potentially bad matchup and it not going your way because you know you got a rules error, to say that was still like your most enjoyable game, that's saying something.
Yeah, it was. No, it was really good fun. Jack was really fun to play against. I'll just have to smash him next time, basically.
It's just something to look forward to next time you play.
Exactly. I can't, I literally can't play him now because I have such a cushy position on the moral high ground that to risk that would not be worth any result I could potentially get.
All the 20s in the world aren't worth it.
Aren't worth it. No, I have this till literally to the end of time. I have this over Jack now. I'm quite happy with this. Yeah, no, it's totally fine. It's all good in the hood. Shit happens.
So, that was the round 5?
That was round 5.
So how did you think the team did?
I think overall we did pretty well. Like, I think we paired pretty well. I've probably not conveyed that very articulately over the course of this, but I think that we paired well. The guys all did well. Fraz had a good tournament, getting good results. Michael and Martin also played very well. I think we played well as a team, which is probably the best thing actually to come out of this, is that, you know, everyone kind of bought into the team mentality and no one was looking at individual results. It was all kind of how that figures into the team. Unfortunately, the other Wildland team beat us.
Not by much though, right? It was like 4 points.
I think it was 5 on the uncapped one. Yeah, sorry, 5 on the capped scores. So
over the course of a 5-round event, that's 20 games. That's nothing.
Yeah, but actually, in terms of uncapped, they were 22 points ahead of us. So,
well, that's like a point a game per player.
Yeah,
it's not huge. You think about it in that context. It's 20 games.
Yeah. So basically, it's Jack's fault, because if I'd managed to get a few more points out of that game, then we might have beat them. It's cushy up here on the moral high ground. Yeah.
So it was a good event all in, though?
Yeah, everyone enjoyed themselves. Slatch and Nick always do a good job at these things. It was really good to see all the guys that you don't get to see very often. So I was talking to our number one fan and well-known podcast slut, Tommy Tucker.
Oh, who was he playing with?
He was playing with Pigmar. So he was playing with Jack Austin. Obviously, so Jack. You know, all the other ETC guys were there. So it was. How did Pigmar do? I think Pigmar came below us. Yeah, they did.
Sometimes.
Yeah. But yeah, no.
Pretty good field though, right? A lot of good players there.
There was, yeah, but it was kind of like a nice, kind of relaxed atmosphere for the most part, because a lot of the guys were just wanting to kind of unwind after ETC. I think it was generally quite a casual feel. The man, the myth, the legend that is Nav was there, giving it all special licks with his new Saurian army, so that was cool. And like John Turner was there, so that was cool seeing John. Fantasy Wargaming guys were all good. So yeah, no, it was a really good event, really good fun. Really proud of the team. I think they played very well, especially considering we got, you know, we were blooding a lot of new players there, less experienced players. So yeah, no, it was really good fun, and I was lucky enough to get 5 great games in. So very nice weekend. So I'm very conscious that we've talked for a long time now. This is a true old school episode of 3 hours long. Very, very quickly we'll do overall thoughts and stuff. So Midlands won by the England Roses, who came first. England Lions came second, and 50% willpower, 25% tough, and the rest Dan came third, which is the best team name ever. But yeah, it was a super event. So, concluding thoughts. How do you feel about your list now? You've had time to reflect and things like that.
It was kind of designed specifically for that tournament to compete in those very specific scenarios, and I think from that perspective, it's a good list. I don't feel that for a Warriors list, it's got that many things in it that you should be scared about. I mean, the wretched ones against the right thing are bananas. They're really fucking good, but they're quite an extreme unit. So there's a lot of stuff out there they're not going to do anything against. Like if you've got a half decent armor save,
yeah,
that's going to negate so much of their damage straight off. The Chosen are excellent, but if they don't kill what they hit turn one, they aren't as great because they're losing the buffs in the second round. And they need that high agility to really make sure that they kill what they hit. Chosen Knights are about the most cost-effective thing in the book. However, compared to a lot of stuff, I don't really rate them on one-on-one fights.
Yeah,
I don't think they're that good. Unfortunately, 2.04 or whatever the fuck it was called, that was your default choice because so much of the book was overcosted. It wasn't worth taking other things. You just max out in Chosen Knights. Now with the book change, that might not be the case, but certainly building the list for those events, it's kind of what you have to take. Looking through some of the Warriors lists that were at that Midlands event, I think it might have been Kieran's list, Into the Boys.
Yeah.
His list is like the kind of default Warriors list just before the update came.
Well, I think his list was basically Tanker's list from ETC, wasn't it?
Chosen Knights, Chariots, Warrior, Big Warrior, Block, Great Weapons, Exalted Herald, and an Adept. And that's it. It's the cookie cutter Warriors list. So I think the list itself is fine. In the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's that world breaking. It probably tailors a little bit more to my style. Like I like having different things. I don't really like having multiple units of the same thing. I find it too boring. And if you come up against a match where it's a hard counter, you've got no tools to try and offset a heavy loss. You've got, you don't have that Swiss Army knife approach that a lot of the lists I like to bring have. They have different units for different things. So I think the list is fine. It's not gonna turn any heads, but I think it was okay for the event. I wouldn't necessarily choose to play it for a casual game down the club.
Okay.
And there are things in the list that I don't think I know how to use properly yet. I don't think I know how to use the barb cap effectively. But beyond that, it's okay. It's kind of dealing with a bad situation as best as possible. The bad situation being the Warriors book. That edition was just fucking shit.
Yeah.
We'll see what the update brings in terms of new builds and how effective it becomes. But what about you?
I still really like my list. I think it works really well. It's got a nice balance to it. There's not really any redundancy in the list, I don't feel. I think everything has its place. It can kind of go up against anything. Obviously, it works particularly well against low leadership or highly armoured armies, but overall, I think it can kind of flex its muscle against most things. It's good fun to play. I've discovered that I fucking love chaff. Chaff is my new favourite thing. You don't really get much opportunity in Empire to really make full use of chaff, but you get plenty of opportunities with vamps.
I think whether you regard the VC book as being OP or not, I think it's safe to say that the perception is that it is the strongest book, whether it is or not.
Yeah. So,
but I think one of the best strengths it's got is its chaff.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's cheap, it can be regrown. Things like dogs and things, even if they don't crumble to oblivion, they're going to hold.
Yeah.
It does a lot of things really well. Flying chaff is fucking amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the ability to hide chaff behind something.
Amazing, yeah.
When you need it.
Yeah, we were talking about like MVPs and LVPs on the way back up of our lists.
Okay.
And I genuinely think the MVPs of my list were my dogs, the 2 units of direwolves. They're so good. Like, the direwolves are the champions, can pin single characters. They're so fast that they can get behind stuff and threaten soft, juicy things. Or equally, you just throw them away as chaff because they're only 133 points, I think, with the champion. They're unbelievable value for what they are. I think this is what
makes the difference in armies that compete in close combat is your ability to win the chaff war, to dictate combats. It makes such a difference.
It really does. I think that the Vampire book is definitely one of the stronger, I will say. I do not think it's OP. I do think it's very good, but I do not think it's OP.
That's the party line though, right?
That is the party line. The Vampire Overlords have said so, and so it must be true. I think the UD book is fucking ridiculous. People should go read that book. No, I think that the Vampire's obviously in a very good place just now. But as you can see from my scores, as soon as you lose your general, it all goes tits up.
Yeah.
Which does balance the equation somewhat, I feel. But
yeah, no, I mean, I would say that for the game, every army has notable weaknesses that can be exploited.
Yeah.
No matter where they compete strongly in a game, there's always something there that everyone's got something to complain about in their book, which instantly makes it a level playing field.
Yeah. I mean, I've lost 5 games with the VC so far.
Yeah, out of what, how many?
Quite a lot.
Because, if you had played 6 games, then that would sound really bad, but you probably played
the win ratio is very good right now.
Yeah.
But in those games, I've lost 3 of them 19-1. Because shit just goes sideways quick.
Yeah, I think not to do yourself a disservice, but I would say because VC are a relatively new army in our group, I think it's taken a while for the rest of us to work out how to beat them.
100%. That's definitely a factor. Yeah.
So, not that you're not using it well, because you're still getting good results, but I think that probably has tarnished our opinion a little bit of the book.
Fair.
Yeah, fucking special saves.
Still better about them Wraiths, eh?
Oh, dude, I'm never gonna let that down. Fucking hell.
Yeah, no, it's
fair. But no, that's cool. No, I would agree with you. They are really fucking strong.
Yeah.
And I think that should be the benchmark for all the books.
I think that's it.
Because the vampire
they're not
book is
one-dimensional. Yeah, exactly. They're fun. They're fluffy with the bloodlines, but they're very, very cost-effective and good. And I think a lot of books could learn a lot from the vampire book. But obviously I'm incredibly biased. So we might...
I guess we'll see. Demon book shouldn't take much longer to come out. So
yeah. We'll
see what's going on with that.
That'll be a good litmus test to see the direction that they're taking the new books.
I think it's hard to put the Warrior book in context because not only is it the first book, but it's one of the books that said is going to have the most changes.
Yeah.
Similar to the Demons, whereas the other books are a little bit safer IP-wise, so potentially there's less need to change those books as much, but I've got a sneaking suspicion that won't be the case. I think there will still be substantial changes elsewhere. That won't necessarily be from a background perspective, it'll be from an in-game perspective.
Yeah.
Just from what people have said about rules that armies currently have.
Yeah. Because I would say, as it stands right now, Warriors are definitely the weakest book.
One of the big handicaps the book has had has been cost.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why I don't run a lot of characters. But we'll maybe get into the Warriors book in another episode, now that there's been an update.
Yeah, so just before wrapping up, what we're going to try and do, we'll try and do it before Christmas, but most likely it's going to be the new year. Once we've both had time to get a few games under the new edition, we're going to do a review of the Warriors book, which has been a long time coming. And Paul has been saving up all his pent-up rage.
We'll see. I mean, it's probably a good thing, though, is we've left it. Because if we had done it, 3 months ago, it would have just been a rant fest. Some of the shit has been removed, thankfully.
Yeah. So, we'll spend the Christmas getting some practice games in, avoiding family commitments and all that kind of thing.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. And you're obviously getting married in a couple of weeks' time. So, on behalf of Bad Git Radio...
Yeah.
Good luck. Congratulations.
On behalf of Mad Git Radio.
On behalf of the 50% of Mad Git Radio that I have, congratulations to the 50% that you have.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, I do have one mention that I need to make, or Ed will shout at me. The Scottish Championships have been announced. They will be on the 23rd and 24th of March. Sign-ups are now available on the forum. So it's obviously a 2-day out-the-book competition, which will be adding to the UK rankings and things like that. So please do come along. Last year was an absolute blast. Obviously it's a more formal kind of tournament, but us jabronis are all playing at it, so it can only be so formal. And yeah, it'll be a good laugh. Get some good games in, and Mad Git Radio will be doing the draw, which will be exciting. So we'll do the first round draw and the predictions and things like that again. And that'll all be coming in the springtime. But for now, if you want to get in contact with us, you can do so on Twitter at Scottish Ninth Age. You can send us an email at scottishwildlings@gmail.com. You can grab us on the forums. Paul is Space Goblin, I am Lost Cause, and we will catch you on the next one.
Take it easy. We'll see you next time.
See ya.